Chapter 281. Lu Cheng was a little nervous because of the unfamiliar sect and fellow sect members. He picked up Yenjika and went to an old restaurant where they had reserved a place. This restaurant specialized in yellow beef, steaming, frying, roasting, stewing, and so on. After ordering the dishes, the girl took out a packet of tissues from her orange bag and handed it to her boyfriend. "Wipe your face." "What's this?" Lu Cheng took it with a confused look. "Makeup remover wipes. Didn't you put on makeup for the program?" Yenjika replied with a smile. "Makeup remover wipes? I've never heard of it," Lu Cheng said with embarrassment. Yenjika tilted her head slightly and laughed. "Idiot, you should know what it's for from the name. It's easy to use. Just wipe it on your face until there's no more yellow stuff. Then you'll be clean." But I wash my face after the program." Lu Cheng was half confused and half defending himself. Yenjika chuckled. "I knew you would say that. A lot of cosmetics can't be washed off with water. Why else do you think girls would prepare makeup remover lotion and oil? With your control over your skin and your sensing ability, don't you feel uncomfortable on your face? So that's why. I was wondering why I didn't feel fresh enough. I thought it was because I showered in a hurry. I was thinking of taking a good shower before the banquet." Lu Cheng was enlightened. If it weren't for the fact that the brain was off limits for mighty ones with physical invulnerability, he would have washed his face with the vibration of internal training. While talking, he took out a wet wipe and wiped his face. As expected, a lot of yellow stuff came off. "How is it? Did you learn something new?" Yenjika raised her head slightly and smiled, showing a bit of complacency. Lu Cheng finished and smiled sincerely. "Thank you, Coach Yen, no life coach. You've broadened my horizons again." Yenjika chuckled and sighed suddenly. "Cheng, we may not be able to date tomorrow. My parents are going to visit a friend's house, and they have to drag me along. Sigh, I hate this kind of thing. It's fine if we are familiar with each other, but if we only see each other 3 or 4 times a year, it will be very uncomfortable. When they are talking, I have to sit beside them and pretend to listen carefully. Sometimes I have to answer some questions that I don't want to answer. If we meet 1 or 2 naughty kids, it will be indescribable." While talking, she found that Lu Cheng was looking at her with a smile. She couldn't help but pout. "What are you looking at? Are you disappointed to find out that I have a side that complains about this and that?" "Nope, I think the complaining cuckoo is super cute," Lu Cheng replied with a smile. Then he explained, "It feels more real and human. I also feel that the distance between us is closer." Yenjika held back her laughter and rolled her eyes at him. "You're talking as if I wasn't a human before. I'm not human anymore." "Of course, it's the scent of a fairy," Lu Cheng said seriously. Yenjika couldn't help but laugh. She curved her lips and turned her head to the side. "What should I do? I feel like I've been cheated. When we first started talking last year, I didn't expect you to say something like this. People will grow, especially when they have a competent life mentor." Lu Cheng answered without blushing. "Yeah, people's skin will become thicker," Yenjika said grumpily. Lu Cheng laughed and held the girl's hand. He helped her massage her acupoints and changed the topic. "Cuckoo, will you attend the celebration banquet for the youth tournament tonight?" He had heard from Ku that Empress Dowager had received an invitation. "No." Yenjika shook her head. "I'm afraid that someone won't be able to hold himself back and talk to me. My dad will find out. If 2 people in love attended a banquet at the same time, unless they could hold themselves back from contacting each other all the time, it would be easy for others to find out whether it was their words, expressions, or eyes. But could her boyfriend hold himself back from contacting each other all the time?" Yenjika held a negative attitude towards the answer, because she had no confidence in herself in this matter. "Phew." Lu Cheng exhaled and said regretfully, "I thought I could see you in an evening dress." "Pervert." Yenjika rolled her eyes and scolded him with a smile. "Actually, I hate this kind of banquet. Although I can dress up beautifully, I have to socialize with a bunch of unfamiliar people. My face will be stiff from smiling. Anyway, it's super boring. I'd rather do a set of test papers." She complained a lot about the boredom of this kind of banquet. She was in high spirits, which made Lu Cheng smile gently. When all the dishes were served, Lu Cheng remembered to tell the girl what had happened before. In fact, I can't go on a date tomorrow because I won the youth tournament and my reputation has spread. My master asked me to go to Wu Yue immediately and formally become his disciple. Formally become his disciple? Yen Zhika didn't hide her joy, and was sincerely happy for her boyfriend. Yes, it's so sudden that I'm a little nervous. I don't know what sect it is and what kind of fellow disciples there will be. Lu Cheng frankly shared his feelings, hoping that his girlfriend, who was born in a martial arts family, could provide some experience. Yen Zhika looked up and pondered for a while before she said, "That's right. Cheng, it's natural for you to be nervous. You can't be so stupid to think that your fellow disciples will be good to you. Even if your master is a mighty one with physical invulnerability, or one of the actual leaders of the sect." What do you mean? Lu Cheng didn't know anything about the ecological environment of the sect. Yen Zhika took back her hand and explained seriously, "A sect is a group of interests. Before you appeared, they had formed a stable distribution of interests. But you, as the champion of the youth tournament, and a strong professional 8th pin, or even 7th pin, will definitely break this balance. It's not that you can get a lot of benefits now, but with the speed of your growth, in the future, who will be the leader and who will be the assistant? What do you think those disciples of the same age as you, who are trained as the next generation of leaders of the sect, will think of you? Will they be harmonious and friendly?" She recalled the things that Grandpa and Uncle usually discussed and the content in the books and described it in a sharp and cold tone. Stopping people from making money is like killing their parents. Lu Cheng thought for a moment and answered with a common saying. Especially since he hadn't practiced martial arts with his fellow disciples since childhood, he had feelings for them. He was considered an outsider, a wild, and a gift from heaven. Anyone would reject, resist, and loathe him. Seeing her boyfriend's serious look, Yen Zhika smiled and said, "It won't go that far. After all, your master is in charge, so they won't do anything too outrageous. At most, they will find a reason to provoke you. Don't be provoked and always stay on the right side. It'll be fine as long as you don't get provoked." "Okay." Lu Cheng nodded thoughtfully. Yen Zhika pursed her lips and said, "Also, don't trust those overly enthusiastic fellow disciples. Actually, you don't need to be afraid of those who come at you openly. What you need to be afraid of are those who play dirty tricks. They will lead you to eat, drink, and have fun and seduce you into depravity. If you really get addicted to something, then it's your own fault. You won't be able to blame them at all. My grandpa had a martial nephew who was crippled in this way. She believed that Cheng wouldn't fool around in places like nightclubs, but she was always worried that he wouldn't be able to stand up to others and refuse their kindness." Lu Cheng listened in a daze. After a long time, he sighed and said, "Where there are people, there is Jianghu." At 6:50 p.m. Lu Cheng, wearing a white martial arts suit with black edges, arrived at the youth tournament celebration reception in high spirits. A long red carpet had been laid out in front of him. There were fans holding banners and cameras everywhere, just like when he had first met Zhang Zhutong. Lu Cheng glanced around and found banners and signs with his name on them. He had a new understanding of the crazy number of fans in the forum in the past 2 days. He took a deep breath and walked to the entrance with a faint smile on his face. He walked on the red carpet with his head held high. Click, click, click. Flashes lit up one after another, and shouts of Lu Cheng burst out, welcoming the main character of the night. After walking down the red carpet, Lu Cheng entered the banquet hall. Before he had time to look around, he saw a meticulous old man with white hair combed horizontally. "I'll call you nephew. Your master and I have been good friends for many years." The old man laughed and said, "Alas, I'm old and forgetful. I haven't introduced myself yet. I used to be the head of the provincial police department, but now I'm retired. I'm just an old man, Shi Dawei." "Hello, Uncle Shi. Sorry for troubling you." Lu Cheng followed his master's seniority and greeted him. Back then, regarding Wang Su's matter, master must have used this clue to find Director Xing step by step. Shi Dawei laughed and said, "It's just a small matter. Don't mention it all the time. Come, let me introduce you to some seniors." He led Lu Cheng to Yin Huaming and introduced him again. This is Xiao Yin, the chairman of the Provincial Martial Artist Association. You can call him Brother Yin, but he's not young anymore. You'd better call him Uncle Yin. You're a martial artist, so don't worry about this. Hello, Uncle Yin. Lu Qing almost burst out laughing. He followed the guidance and called him Uncle Yin. Yin Huoming shook his head with a smile. Martial Uncle Shi, I'm only 10 years younger than you. With this new introduction and Lu Qing calling him Uncle Yin, their relationship was different. Who told your master to accept a disciple at the age of 20? Shidawei laughed and scolded him. Then he introduced Lu Qing to Luo Zhong, the governor in charge of martial arts affairs, Yu Hong, the senior vice principal of the police academy, and the boss of the Divine Fire Club, Gao Jianxi, a 60-year-old fourth pin expert. He introduced the big shots of the Xing province martial arts world to his nephew. Seeing one stranger after another and greeting them with a smile, Lu Qing thoroughly understood the feeling of Yan Zhika's face stiffening up when she talked to him. After a round of socializing with the big shots, he slipped to the balcony with the excuse of going to the bathroom. He hid in a corner and complained to his girlfriend. In the end he said, "This is probably the trouble of being famous. Compared to this kind of banquet, I'd rather study with you in the classroom." Before Yan Zhika replied, Lu Qing saw a tall man enter the balcony with a glass of red wine. He looked less than 40 years old, and was very thin. His eyes hid deep tiredness, but his spirit gave people a feeling of excitement. "Lu Qing?" The man chuckled and raised his glass. "Hello." Lu Qing answered instinctively out of habit. Then he raised his glass of water. "I'm Wang Zhou." The man said with a smile. "Last night there was a rumor in the underworld that someone offered 30 million yuan for your head." "Ah." Lu Qing was surprised and confused. "Who did I offend?" Wang Zhou sipped the wine and said leisurely, "The rumor disappeared as soon as it came out. Because no one who can kill you is willing to sacrifice a stable life. There's no need to take risks. After all, we live in a stable and harmonious society. Besides, even if you get the money, you may not be alive to spend it. This is just a small episode. Don't worry too much. It just means that someone doesn't like you very much." "How do you know?" Lu Qing thought for a while and asked. Wang Zhou gently swirled his wine glass, turned around and left, leaving behind a sentence. "My friends in the martial arts world like to call me Master Ba." "Master Ba?" "Master Ba behind the Sage Hall." No wonder. Lu Qing took a breath and suddenly felt that his life seemed to be a little different after this championship. Will I encounter any problems when I formally become a disciple? In the venue of the banquet, Gu Shuang, in a black evening dress, secretly looked at the balcony and sent a message to Yan Zhika. "Hee cuckoo, your man is very honest. He didn't even look at those socialites. Those philatelists are very disappointed." "Why do you care about this?" Yan Zhika replied with anger and amusement. "By the way, bring me 4 bottles of original proof wine from Ningshui Daku. Chung has to meet his master tomorrow. He can't go empty-handed." The next day, Lu Qing took his luggage and went to the airport to start his journey. Destination: Wuyue Province. Chapter 282. After checking in the 4 bottles of original proof spirit from Ningshui Daku, Lu Qing carried his luggage, took his boarding pass, and arrived at the security check area according to the sign. Since Yan Zhika helped to book the tickets, she chose the first-class cabin out of habit. So Lu Qing didn't have to wait in the long line. After a short wait, he finished the security check through the VIP passage, and found the corresponding airline's VIP lounge, where he had a free buffet. When it was almost boarding time, Lu Qing didn't hear any news of delay. He secretly praised his good luck for taking a plane for the first time, and showed it off to Yan Zhika. Then he left the VIP lounge and boarded the plane without waiting in line. This was a medium-sized passenger plane. The seats in the first-class business class were essentially the same as those in the economy class, except that they were more spacious. There were 4 seats in the first 2 classes, 2 seats on the left and right sides, and 6 seats in the latter class. Lu Qing found his seat according to the information on his boarding pass. He stuffed his backpack into the luggage rack and sat by the window, looking at the blazing sun outside. To be honest, the news revealed by Master Li last night made him, who had not seen much of the world, a little nervous. He could not help but think about all sorts of things. Although this was just an episode, an unremarkable wave that was unlikely to become reality. What if he encountered a lunatic? Lu Cheng, who had read a lot of novels, knew very well that killing had nothing to do with the level of martial arts. With the right arrangement and plan, even a weak child could kill an adult man. Dan's stage and physical invulnerability. Mighty ones had families and jobs, and belonged to the middle and upper class of society, so they didn't need to take risks for money. But what about other people? I'm not afraid of sniping, but I can't guard against poison. If it doesn't taste right, I'll spit it out immediately. Besides, there were bombs, car accidents. Lu Cheng's thoughts flew. Unknowingly, the passenger next to him came. He waited for the plane to taxi, the end of the traffic control, and the climb to the blue sky. According to popular literature, a certain country's intelligence agency was best at silencing people with a plane crash. This was the best way to avoid leaving any clues. Lu Cheng's heart tightened. He quickly extinguished the thought in his mind. He took a deep breath and visualized the scene of water turning into ice. He began to recall Coach Yan's guidance. It won't be too exaggerated. After all, they are from the same sect. There are elders above and the country watching. Unless it's a life and death situation, there will be a minimum level of struggle. 30 million for a head is very strange. According to my deduction, someone must have released the news on purpose to stir up the situation. There won't be any follow-up. You don't need to think too much. Follow the rules and leave the rest to your master. Trust your elder's experience and ability. Coach Yan is really a rational girl. Lu Cheng felt the turbulence caused by the turbulence of the plane and looked out of the window again. Below the plane was a boundless sea of clouds. White snow piled up into mountains, waves, and all kinds of strange shapes. In the distance, the scorching sun was shining brightly, dyeing everything golden. 2.5 hours later, the plane landed on time at Shanggao Airport in Wuyue Province. Lu Cheng's last worry was gone. Being high up in the sky, if anything were to happen, there was a limit to what he could do. It was truly beyond the control of others. But once his feet were on the ground, even if he didn't dare to say that he was in control of his own life and not the heavens, he could still deal with whatever came his way. No wonder some martial arts experts didn't like to take planes. No matter how far they were, they preferred to take trains or ships. Taoist Wu Guang, the master of warrior sage Qian Donglu and the current sect leader of Shangqing sect, was one of them. Not long after landing, Lu Cheng turned on his phone and texted Yan Zhika that he had arrived safely. Then he got off the plane, picked up 4 bottles of wine, and carried his luggage to the arrival hall. He glanced around and suddenly saw a sign with the words, Lu Cheng of Xing Province, written on it. He squinted and saw that it was held by a young girl. She was about 1.7 meters tall, and wore large sunglasses that covered half of her face. Her nose was straight, and her lips were full. Her hair was straight and glossy. She wore a light-colored t-shirt and a white knee-length skirt. Her legs were bare, and she wore a pair of sandals. She attracted a lot of glances from the surrounding men. Although her legs were fair and straight, Lu Cheng could tell from the girl's vigorous chi and blood that she could crush 1 or 2 heads with a kick. Is this how the sect welcomes its guests? He walked over as he pondered. The girl also noticed his presence from the way he was looking at her. She was stunned at first, then waved her right hand excitedly and shouted in a delicate voice, Junior Uncle Lu Cheng. You are? Lu Cheng came to her side and asked cautiously. The girl didn't take off her sunglasses. She smiled and said, I'm your martial niece, your cute and pretty martial niece. I was in the sect when I heard you were coming, so I volunteered to pick you up. Let's talk on the way to the parking lot. I'm Mo Jingting. You can call me Jingjing, Tingting or Jingting. Mo Jingting? Why does this name sound so familiar? Lu Cheng had seen his little fairy act coquettishly. How could he be confused by a few words? He picked up his phone and smiled. I'll tell my master. Okay. Mo Jingting put away the tag and stood elegantly. She still didn't take off her sunglasses. Hello, master. I'm here. A martial niece named Mo Jingting is waiting for me at the airport. Lu Cheng asked. Geezer sure chuckled. This girl is not easy to deal with. Tell her to come and pick me up. Forget it. Give her the phone. I'll tell her myself. Okay. Lu Qing passed the phone to Mo Jingting. Oi. Okay. Don't worry, Marshal Uncle. We'll be right there. Mo Jingting said yes for a while, then hung up and returned the phone to Lu Qing. Lu Qing followed her to the parking lot after his master had confirmed it. On the way, the girl was quite cheerful and outgoing. She kept asking questions, as if she wanted to dig out all the secrets of his junior uncle. Lu Qing responded cautiously. He wasn't very enthusiastic. After boarding a Q7, Mo Jingting finally took off her huge sunglasses, revealing a face that looked both happy and angry at the same time. Her eyebrows were black, but not ugly. On the contrary, she looked a little naive. Her eyes seemed to be naturally a little out of focus. She looked at everyone with misty eyes full of affection. Lu Qing glanced at her warily. He suddenly understood why the name Mo Jingting sounded so familiar to him. He had listened to her song last night. She was one of the more popular stars in recent years. She was an actress and had released 2 albums. She was about 21 or 22 years old. She was the most fantasized girl in the boys' dormitory. She was the dream girl of old Chiu and the beast next door. She's actually my martial niece? Damn it. She's obviously a few years older than me. How dare she act cute in front of me? Noticing Lu Qing's surprise, Mo Jingting fastened her seatbelt skillfully and said with a smile, "Junior uncle, you recognize me? I didn't want to fight in the ring in my prime. Plus, I had some connections in the sect, so I became a martial arts actor. I had a concert the day before yesterday and had a few days off, so I came back to have fun. Then I met Junior Martial Uncle who wanted to formally become your disciple. I was curious, so I took the initiative to volunteer. Junior Martial Uncle, please help me adjust the rearview mirror. Move it up a little, move it a little. I'll do it myself." She unfastened her seatbelt and leaned over Lu Qing. She reached out to adjust the rearview mirror of the passenger seat. The light and distant smell of perfume entered Lu Qing's nose. From this angle, Lu Qing could see the beautiful scenery as long as he lowered his head. Lu Qing leaned back and looked straight ahead. He was still digesting the fact that his martial niece was a star. But even a star is not as beautiful as my Ku. His eyes were gentle and his smile was hidden. After Mo Jingting adjusted the rearview mirror, fastened her seatbelt and started the car, Lu Qing took the initiative to ask, "Junior, martial niece, what is our sect called?" "Didn't Martial Granduncle tell you before?" Mo Jingting asked in surprise. "No," Lu Qing answered honestly. Mo Jingting couldn't help but laugh. "Junior uncle, why do I feel like you were abducted into the sect? Martial Granduncle is too irresponsible. He doesn't say anything. Our sect is called the Ice God Sect. To outsiders, the Ice Empress who created the Ice Divine Kung Fu thousands of years ago is the founder of the sect. But in fact 573 years ago, Yang Chenghui from Wuyue obtained the incomplete version of the Ice Divine Kung Fu. That was how our sect came to be. More than 100 years ago, in order to complete this unique skill of the Ice Sect, we joined forces with Haishi Sect, Hanqi Sect and Dinghai Sect to establish the Wuyue Club. We became one of the top forces at that time. At this point, Mo Jingting glanced sideways at Lu Qing and bit her lip slightly. "Young martial uncle, if you hear any bad rumors these days, don't believe them. The Haishi Sect, the Hanqi Sect, and the Dinghai Sect don't want our Ice God Sect to be peaceful. It would be best if there is some internal strife. Could it be that these sects were behind the 30 million price? To incite internal strife in the Ice God Sect?" Lu Qing thought for a while and said, "The Wuyue Club doesn't get along well with each other either." As he spoke, he quickly sent a message to Yan Zhika and shared it with her with a stunned expression. "The one who came to pick me up is Mo Jingting. The one who sang, 'Waiting for the Wind.' She is my martial niece." "Oh, Chung, you are a disciple of the Ice God Sect," Yan Zhika quickly replied. Mo Jingting looked ahead and sighed. "Our Ice God Sect has produced 4 physical invulnerability experts in 2 generations. We are in the leading position in the Wuyue Club. However, 3 of the 4 physical invulnerability experts are old, and are from the same generation as our martial granduncle. In this generation, only martial uncle Yuejian is holding the fort. Huang Ke from Haishi sect is suppressing us and the clown from Dinghai sect is chasing after us. They don't want to break the alliance, but they want to change the current situation. Huang Ke from Haishi sect. Lu Qing whispered this name. Since he often watched top professional competitions, he naturally knew this expert. A 45-year-old expert with a title. The Spear King of the generation. Chapter 283. Dinghai sect's clown Gu Jianxi was very legendary. His parents had died when he was young, and he had been abducted and sold to the war-torn areas in the south. He had never received a proper martial arts education, and he had relied on a few manuals that could be found on the streets, talent, passion, focus, and 3 meals of fights to temper his unique martial arts. He had also developed a ruthless, rebellious, and unyielding character. People like him would usually die in some conflict before they reached adulthood. Fortunately, before that time came, he was noticed by an elder of the Dinghai sect who was passing by. Appreciating his talent and ability, the elder used his connections to bring him back to the country. At that time, he was just over 17 years old, and his strength had already surpassed that of a normal professional 9th pin. After joining Dinghai sect, he didn't major in the Ice sect's secret arts like most mighty ones in Wuyue Club. Instead, he chose the incomplete version of the Death sect. After that, he made great strides and created miracles time and time again. From time to time, he would defeat stronger opponents. He reached 5th pin at 22 and stepped into the inhuman stage. At 25, which was last year, he made a great leap and achieved physical invulnerability. His nickname came from the clown tattoo on his arm and neck. Thinking about Gun King Huang Ku and clown Gu Jianxi's situation, Lu Qing roughly understood why Mo Jingting had said that senior sister Tsukino had a mountain in front of her and an army behind her. According to public information, Shi Yuejian achieved physical invulnerability at 29 and was classified as a 3rd pin. Now that 6 years had passed, she was still a 3rd pin. Her momentum was no longer comparable to that of the clown, let alone catching up to Huang Ke. In the next few years, before the 3 mighty ones of physical invulnerability from the previous generation completely aged, the Ice God sect's position in Wuyue Club wouldn't be shaken. However, time is cruel. Once the heroes of the old era gradually left the stage, and the rising stars of the new era couldn't replace them, the Ice God sect would definitely have to give up a large portion of the benefits. All the hustle and bustle in the world was for benefits. Understanding this, Lu Qing couldn't help but sigh. So you'll be beaten if you fall behind. Isn't that so? I heard that you reached 8th pin in a year, and are catching up to Peng Liyun and Run Li. Everyone is looking forward to it. Mo Jingting tilted her head and winked, smiling sweetly. She seemed to be flirting with everyone she looked at. She made it sound like the whole sect is kind to me. Lu Cheng's heart skipped a beat, and he became even more wary of Mo Jingting. In the grand scheme of things, it was reasonable for the Ice God sect members to look forward to the geniuses and themselves. However, the world was filled with people who only cared about themselves and didn't care about the overall situation. You flatter me, I can't compare to Peng Liyun and Run Li. Lu Qing replied to Yanjika's message perfunctorily. Yeah, I just found out that I'm from the Ice God sect. Only after a year of apprenticeship and stepping into Korchi realm, did he know which sect he was a disciple of. Her master was too unreliable. Yanjika giggled. You're living a tough life. Shi Yuejian of the Wuyue Club should be your senior sister. Coach Shi must be her senior. It's not that simple. My master has a daughter. Lu Qing could roughly guess the relationship between Shi Yuejian and his master. At the same time, he diverted some of his attention to listen to Mo Jingting talk about the internal strife of the Wuyue Club. Yan Zheka talked about Shi Yuejian for a while, and suddenly asked, why did Mo Jingting take the initiative to pick you up? And she's alone. What's wrong with that? I called my master and he didn't object. Lu Qing was confused. But my master just said that Mo Jingting was not easy to deal with. On the surface, there seems to be nothing wrong, but my intuition tells me that there's a problem. She's already half out of the martial arts world, so there's no need for her to be so passionate. Tell me what she did just now, don't leave out anything. Yanjika crossed her hands and supported her chin. Nothing much. She just held up a sign and waited for me at the arrival hall. She acted cute and talked to my master for a while. Then she took me to the car and introduced the sect and Wuyue Club to me. She even asked me to adjust the rearview mirror for her. Lu Cheng typed as he pondered. After a moment of silence, Yenjika sent an emoji of sitting blankly. Silly boy you were flirted with. Huh? Lu Cheng was confused. I can't figure it out. Did she think that you didn't adjust the mirror well enough, so she leaned over and adjusted it herself? Yenjika replied. Yeah, how did you know? What's wrong with that? Lu Cheng was very surprised. Thinking back to the scene where Mo Jingting leaned over and adjusted the rearview mirror, it was a bit ambiguous. Silly boy, her car is of high quality. The rearview mirror can be adjusted electronically, and she drove the car to the airport. Do you think she didn't adjust the rearview mirror well? Yenjika sent an emoji of covering her face. F***ck. Lu Cheng suddenly realized and felt that he was too naive. I didn't know. I didn't even get a driver's license and we don't have a car. I believe you. She must have found out about this. That's why she flirted with you. Yenjika sent an emoji of exhalation. How did you feel when you were flirted with just now? I didn't feel anything. I'm such a decent person, and I still remember Coach Yan's teachings. I have to be careful of those who are especially passionate about me in the sect. I don't want to fall for the sugar-coated bullets. Lu Cheng explained quickly. If you weren't afraid of the sugar-coated bullets, would you feel anything? She's a superstar who threw herself at you. Yenjika sent an emoji of go away. Being tricked by Yenjika again. Lu Cheng sent an emoji of injustice. I'm someone who has been flirted with by a little fairy. Why would I be attracted by someone below the standard? When did I flirt with you? Don't leave after school. Tell me clearly. Yenjika said angrily. On a certain day, I woke up with a mouthful of lip balm. Snickering emoji, Lu Cheng replied. That's not true. And Mo Jingting doesn't count as below the standard. You're exaggerating. Looking up at the sky expression. Yenjika sent an emoji. My standard is based on a little fairy. Lu Cheng changed the topic. What do you think Mo Jingting is trying to do by flirting with me? Yenjika sent a picture of Ishio and Gugu chattering. The first possibility is to ruin your reputation. Martial uncle and martial nephew being together is a big scandal in the Jianghu. The second possibility is just like what I've analyzed before. She's trying to seduce you and lead you astray. Today she'll find you a few celebrities, tomorrow she'll find you a few models, and the next day she'll throw you a feast or something to liven things up. Why are you so detailed? Lu Cheng wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. I'm afraid you'll fall for it, so I specially consulted someone and listed out the situation. Raising head proudly emoji, Yenjika sent. Lu Cheng was about to say something when he suddenly felt a hint of jealousy in her words. He was delighted and laughed. Are you jealous? Yenjika, who was always rational, couldn't help but feel jealous when she knew there was nothing going on. No, Yenjika denied firmly. She hurriedly continued. The third possibility is that she's always been able to get the best resources in the entertainment circle because of the Ice God sect and Wuyue Club behind her. She also knows that she's given up on martial arts and probably won't be able to enter the Danchi state in this lifetime. She won't have an important position in the sect. Once her original backing loses its influence, it'll be hard for her to be in the limelight again. It's not strange that she hooked up with you in advance as an investment. Lu Cheng pondered for a while and smiled as he typed on the keyboard. Unfortunately, I only have eyes for my little fairy. Don't be so mushy. Yenjika scolded. Mo Jingting glanced at Lu Cheng and asked in confusion. Young martial uncle, what are you laughing at? I was chatting with my girlfriend. She said that my martial nephew is a superstar. Lu Cheng answered meaningfully. You have a girlfriend? Mo Jingting was stunned. Yes. Lu Cheng's smile was obvious and his eyes were gentle. It seems that you like her a lot. Mo Jingting subconsciously asked. Of course. Lu Cheng admitted it without feeling embarrassed at all. Mo Jingting pouted and said, Young martial uncle, I'm so envious of her. At this moment, there was a car in front of them. Mo Jingting stepped on the brakes and let the handbag beside her roll down. The handbag had a zipper and was not closed, so the bottles and cans inside were scattered all over the ground. "Young Marshal uncle, help me pick them up," Mo Jingting requested in a coquettish tone. Luqing bent down and picked up the handbag. He picked up the things that had rolled to his side and put them in the bag. The two lipstick and lipstick on the opposite side happened to be under Mo Jingting's body. Looking at the pair of white, tender, and straight legs, Luqing wanted to lean over to pick them up. But he laughed and said frankly, "You can pick up the rest when we stop the car. Anyway, you won't lose them." Seeing that there was no hesitation in his expression, Mo Jingting was silent for a while, and then put on a bright smile again. "Yo, young Marshal uncle, you're really a gentleman." She resolved the awkwardness with this attitude, and continued to talk about the internal affairs of the sect. At this time, Yanjika sent a new message to Luqing. "I've asked around. Mo Jingting is the grand disciple of He, the leader of the Ice God sect. She's the disciple of his eldest disciple, Yang Xianlong. He is a physical invulnerability mighty one, and should be considered your martial uncle. Yang Xianlong is the eldest senior brother of your generation. He's from the same generation as Spear King, Huang Ke, but he hasn't been able to reach the physical invulnerability mighty one. He's 50 years old now, but he's still a professional fourth pin dan stage. Among his disciples, the most valued one was his second disciple, Zhu Tai. He reached the dan stage at the age of 20, but only reached the high pin at the age of 28. Anyway, listen to your master later. If you have any thoughts, tell him honestly. Don't hide anything." Mo Jingting is a disciple of the sect leader. Luqing nodded slightly. At this time, Mo Jingting parked the car by the roadside. There was a villa area nearby. Geysershire, wearing an old man's shirt, stood there unsteadily without any image of a mighty one with physical invulnerability. Luqing quickly got out of the car and opened the back door. He handed over the original proof wine that had always been beside him. "Master, this is a specialty of our place." Geysershire smiled satisfactorily and took the wine before sitting in the car. He opened the bottle and took a sip. "This wine is good. You still have some conscience. You still remember to show filial piety to your master. Your disciple's wife is considerate." Luqing answered silently. He didn't sit in the front passenger seat anymore. He sat side by side with his master, and was completely relieved. He would listen to his master's instructions from now on. "Marshal Granduncle, the more you live, the more spirited you are. The more you live, the more carefree you are," Mo Jingting smiled and complimented. Geysershire chuckled and said, "Of course I'm comfortable. I don't have to worry about the internal affairs of the sect. I take the offerings and enjoy the benefits. I don't have to be busy. I only have to do something once in a while. Why wouldn't I be comfortable?" Speaking of this, he turned to Luqing and asked in front of Mo Jingting, "Brat, do you want to be high and mighty in the future and be so busy that your feet don't touch the ground? Or do you want to be as comfortable as an old man like me? Do you want to fight in the arena and accompany your wife?" Before Luqing could answer, he clearly felt Mo Jingting's body tensing up. He took a breath and recalled the busy, boring, and annoying times after winning the championship. He said sincerely, "I want to focus on martial arts." Chapter 284. I want to focus purely on martial arts. After saying this, Luqing felt as if the dust in his heart had been swept away. Those social interactions, quarrels, trifles, and turbulent undercurrents were all not what he wanted. Being sincere to martial arts, to the people he loved, even if it was just holding textbooks and discussing topics, was much better than fighting for power. At the same time, he felt Mo Jingting's tense body soften. She smiled with a delicate voice and said, "Martial Granduncle, what you said just now was wrong. Nowadays, professionalism is very important. There are professional managers and talented disciples in the company watching over them. The sect leader is just a general manager and a supervisor. How can he be so busy? He's also very free and leisurely." What does she mean? Which side is Mo Jingting on? What is she thinking? Or is she just saying it casually to diffuse the awkwardness? Luqing was stunned. He was puzzled by the words of the sect leader's martial niece. Compared to her, his social experience was indeed too shallow. You little girl, you can't even hear a word of truth from your mouth. How many companies have the sect developed until now? How many industries are involved? Just the supervision alone is enough to give me a headache. Besides, this is not the only thing. Within the sect, within the alliance, and in the Jianghu, there are many traps that need to be kept alert. Gizershur snorted. He looked as if he had eaten more salt than she had eaten rice. These can also be assisted by people who are good at them. The sect leader is very leisurely. He only needs 3 to 4 hours of work every day. Mo Jingting answered with a smile. Gizershur ignored her, and turned to look at his silly disciple. Don't rush to answer. Think carefully. Don't worry about external factors. If you're afraid of these little things, how can you survive in the Jianghu in the future? Don't think about other things. Just ask yourself what you really want. Someone once said that once you've tasted power, it's like being addicted to drugs. Don't make a decision blindly because you haven't experienced it. He said it casually, but the meaning behind his words made Mo Jingting stunned. She unconsciously frowned. Is this the spirit of a mighty one with physical invulnerability? Don't worry about external factors. With me here, it's not a problem? Yes, master. Lu Qing closed his eyes, reminiscing about the past, imagining some scenes he had seen on TV and heard from others. Gizershur chuckled and said, I won't say more about the benefits of being in charge of a sect. But if you choose to be an idle person, you won't have to stick to the Wuyue Club if you really have the chance to participate in the top professional competitions in the future. Ah, how can I not participate in the Wuyue Club? Lu Qing opened his eyes in surprise. Once he knew about the situation of the sect, he believed that joining the Wuyue Club would be a sure thing after he reached the high pin, or even the physical invulnerability stage. How could he betray the sect? Gizershur clicked his tongue and said, The Wuyue Club is just an alliance, not a sect. We've done our duty by ensuring that there is one physical invulnerability expert representing the Wuyue Club in the top professional competitions. Other powers are willing to recruit guest elders. You don't teach your martial arts to outsiders, don't hold authority, and don't do things that are detrimental to the foundation of the Wuyue Club. Joining them is not a betrayal. There are precedents. However, sects like Daxing Temple and Shangqing Sect almost never invite guest elders. Like Yanjiao League and Longhu Club, there is no lack of foreign mighty ones. You can also marry into Shushan study. I don't mind. Marry into? Lu Qing wiped the cold sweat in his heart. He wanted to roll his eyes at his master. Marry into Shushan study? Mo Jingting's plump lips were half opened. She took a deep breath thoughtfully. At this point, Gizershur sighed. Shangqing, Shushan, and Longhu Club are in charge of the restriction sect of Taoism. I've been eyeing it for many years. Sigh. The restriction sect, the head of the 5 sects' unique arts of Taoism, is in the hands of Shangqing Sect, Shushan Study, and Longhu Club? Lu Qing had never heard of such a secret before. He blurted out, I thought part of it would be in the hands of the government. No wonder these 3 sects, regardless of their ups and downs, were always in the top 6 of the top forces. Gizershur looked at him as if he was looking at an idiot. Longhu Club has caught up with the sects with a long history in more than 30 years. Who do you think is behind them? Oh, I see. Lu Qing didn't care about his master's look at all. He took out his phone and shared the news with Ko out of habit. I know. My grandpa and grandma have experienced it. The one in Shushan Study's hands is called the Tai Ching chapter. Yenjika sent a blank emoji and shared the secret with her boyfriend. I just found out about Longhu Club. Sigh, I'm so ignorant. It's all my grandpa's fault. They rarely talk about this. Same. My master looked at me like I was an idiot just now. Lu Qing complained to his girlfriend. You are an idiot, Chung. You don't even know you're being flirted with. Yenjika snorted. It means I'm simple and honest. I only have my little fairy in my heart. Lu Qing said affectionately. After the conversation just now, Mo Jingting became silent and focused on driving. It was not until they got out of the ring road and turned into the winding mountain road that she regained her cheerfulness. She introduced with a smile. Junior uncle, nominally, The sect is still halfway up Mount Yanbing, but people rarely come back. There are hardly many people here unless there is a formal ceremony. However, it's very nice to come here for a holiday. It's especially good to avoid the heat in summer. Why? Lu Qing asked in confusion. Geyser said impatiently. Today is different from the past. A sect gathering in the wilderness. Are they waiting to be bombed by missiles? Are they waiting to be wiped out? Mo Jingting laughed and added. The sect has an ice god building in the busiest business district in Moshang. All the daily affairs are done there. Normally, everyone lives in their own places. Only the junior brothers and sisters who haven't finished their apprenticeship are arranged together. Haha, every year they are locked up here to practice martial arts for a period of time. Moshang was the provincial capital of Wuyue. While listening to the introduction, Lu Cheng was also reading the information provided by his little fairy, such as the famous disciples and their respective masters. When they were halfway up the mountain, he had a preliminary but relatively complete understanding of the Ice God sect. He, Shen Guotian, and his master, who was not well known, were the previous generation's 3 physical invulnerability elders. There were still a few dance stage experts of the same generation, but their physical condition was much worse. There was no need for them to not fight. In his generation, there was senior sister Yuejian, a physical invulnerability expert. There were also 4 high-ranked dance stage senior brothers and sisters who were in charge of different affairs in the sect, assisting the sect leader. There were also a dozen dance stage peers who were basically managing the sect's businesses. In the next generation, the oldest was only in his 30s. Including Zhu Tai, there were 2 high-ranked ones and 10 low-ranked ones. Some entered the Wuyue Club to train with the physical invulnerability mighty ones, and some participated in professional competitions at other levels. One of the Wuyue Club's sects had more than 30 dance stage experts, which showed how terrifying the top forces were. The Shangqing sect alone probably had more dance stage experts than the whole Xing province. In the next generation, there were not many disciples, and most of them were underage. We're here, Mo Jingting announced in a light tone and parked the car outside the mountain gate. The nearby pine forest was like a sea, and the sound of waves brought a refreshing feeling in the hot summer. The mountain gate was carved out of a huge stone, ancient and simple, with the words, Ice God Sect written on it. Let's go meet your sect leader uncle first. You'll officially become his disciple tomorrow. Geyser got out of the car leisurely. Okay. Lu Qing followed obediently. Mo Jingting unbuckled her seatbelt, leaned over to the window and said with a smile, Junior uncle, let's add each other on WeChat. We'll be fellow disciples in the future. My poor junior nephew will have to rely on you to take care of him. I don't use WeChat. Lu Qing declined politely. He had applied for WeChat, but no one around him used it, so he was too lazy to do it himself. Okay. Mo Jingting curled her lips and showed an aggrieved expression. She sat up straight and drove the car to the parking place. Geyser stood beside them and quietly watched their conversation. Then he clicked his tongue and said, This girl is so cunning. When she was still in the sect, she made a bunch of senior brothers fall head over heels in love with her. In the end, none of them even touched her hand. Master, it's not good for you to say that. Lu Cheng's mouth twitched. You're an elder. How can you say that behind my back? What's not good about it? If they can do it, I can say it. Geyser chuckled. This girl has been in the entertainment industry for a few years now. She's getting more and more capable. Don't be fooled. Master, don't worry. I'm not that kind of person. Lu Qing replied calmly. I only like girls like little fairies. Just as he finished speaking, he suddenly received a message from an unknown number. Young Marshal Uncle, this is my phone number. Take care of me in the future. Your cute and pretty Marshal nephew. D. Lu Qing shook his head. He only felt that this guy was a little annoying, so he casually saved the name Marshal nephew Mo Geyser. Didn't say anything else. He led Lu Qing through the halls and rooms, past the patrolling disciples, and arrived at the place where the plaque, Ice Queen Pavilion, was hung. Have you thought about what happened before? Geyser stopped here and asked again. He didn't hide his voice. Master, my answer is still the same. I want to focus on martial arts. Lu Qing answered seriously. With strength, there would naturally be corresponding benefits. There was no need to scheme and fight for power. Wouldn't it be better to live a simple and leisurely life? Okay, let's go in. Gizershur led his disciple, pushed open the door and walked in. Inside, an old man with sparse white hair was standing behind the desk. His cheeks were sagging, and the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes were deep. At this moment he smiled and greeted them. Zhengwo, is this Lu Qing? Zhengwo? Sure, Zhengwo. This is Master's name? Lu Qing suddenly felt like laughing. Considering Master's age, this name is really unique. It just lacks the feeling of a master of a generation. The master of a generation, Sure Zhengwo? Gizershur glared at his disciple. Yes, senior brother sect leader. This is my useless disciple. Chapter 285. He, the head of the Ice God sect, burst into laughter. If he is a good-for-nothing, what about the other disciples? Lu Qing took a step forward while the two elders were talking and said respectfully, Nice to meet you, martial uncle sect leader. Good. The wrinkles at the corners of He Yi's eyes unfolded layer by layer. I've seen your last 2 matches. You've reached more than level 8 in 1 year. You've even reached level 7. In the history of our Ice God sect, you're already very rare. Well, martial uncle sect leader seems to be more cultured than master. Lu Qing said with a smile. I can't reach professional 7th pin in a year, so I don't plan to attend the ranking event in October. I plan to attend it in April next year. The reason why he was able to defeat Zhang Zhutong and Han Jifei was mainly because he didn't show his true strength in the beginning, causing his opponents to misjudge him. With a bit of luck and a bit of quick-wittedness, he barely managed to win the youth tournament. Through these 2 matches, others could basically figure out his general situation. In this case, if he attended the ranking event of professional 7th pin in October, he would have less than a 50% chance of winning. He'd better consolidate his foundation and break through the limits of the human body and register at the end of April or early May next year. Of course, the premise was that he didn't change much by squeezing the Jindan to improve his supernatural ability. He nodded slightly and praised him. Very good. You're not in a hurry, unlike your master who was impulsive when he was young. I'm full of youthful spirit. The white-haired Gizershur retorted. He shook his head and smiled. 3 years old can tell the difference. Well, you take martial nephew Lu to the Songtao Pavilion. Tomorrow morning at 9:15 a.m. He'll formally become your disciple. At this point he looked at Lu Qing and said, Tomorrow is just a formality. You are now an official disciple of our sect. This is also your home, so you don't have to be too restrained. If you have nothing to do at night, you can walk around and interact with your fellow disciples. Don't be too afraid of strangers. He deliberately emphasized the word friendly, as if he was making a final decision. But don't get close to the Tingxian Pavilion, so as not to disturb the guests from Haishi sect, Dinghai sect, and Hanqi. He added, There are guests. Lu Qing blurted out in surprise. Wouldn't this seem too solemn? Our sects are united, and that's why we're in this situation today. They came here with good intentions, so we can't stop them, right? He replied meaningfully. Hey, we old guys are here. Let's just watch the ceremony. What can happen? Gizershur said grumpily. I'll take this brat to the Songtao Pavilion. He nodded. Go ahead. If you're too tired, it's fine to meet your fellow disciples tomorrow. After watching the 2 of them leave the Ice Queen Pavilion, a well-built man came down the stairs. His hair was black, and his skin was wrinkle-free. He didn't look to be in his 40s, but his eyes were filled with the vicissitudes of time. Master, isn't this apprenticeship ceremony a little too solemn? The man frowned and asked. He chuckled. Solemn? If it's just a professional 7th or 8th pin disciple, there's no need to be so solemn. But this is a disciple who reached professional 8th pin, or even professional 7th pin within a year, and he's not even 20 yet. You heard the conversation between him and your martial uncle, sure. Your little junior brother doesn't like to meddle in things. Xianlong, don't think too much. Don't play tricks in the dark and ruin the atmosphere in the sect. You'll be mocked by the Ocean West Gate and the Dinghai sect. This was Yang Xianlong, the eldest disciple in charge of the daily affairs of the Ice God sect. He was a professional fourth-pin dance stage expert in his 50s. His brows were still furrowed, and he said worriedly, "Words don't mean anything. Do you want me to sign a document? Since they said so in front of me, they definitely won't go back on their words before I can move." He shook his head. "Tell Lei Fong that if he can become a physical invulnerability expert, it'll be his. No one can take it away from him. If he can't get what's not his. In the martial arts sect, strength is the foundation of everything. We can squeeze one or two people away with connections and outside help, but we can't squeeze out everyone else." "Yes, master." Yang Xianlong lowered his head and answered. He turned and left the Ice Queen Pavilion. He stood in the cold room for a long time before he sighed. The scenery in the Songtao Pavilion was great. When he opened the window on the second floor, he could see a sea of trees swaying in the wind. "Don't go out tonight. Have a good rest. Tomorrow, after the formal apprenticeship ceremony, you can come to my place. I've got the visualization diagram of Zhu Rong Force." Geezer sure carried the 4 bottles of original proof spirits in his hands, and then disappeared in a flash. He was enjoying himself happily. Zhu Rong Force? Lu Cheng was excited and full of expectation. Having been on the move all the way, his mind was a little tired. He laid on the bed and chatted with his little fairy, chatting idly with his classmates, and browsing the forums and Weibo at the same time. He was living a leisurely life, without the slightest intention of going out to make friends with his fellow disciples. Half a day of leisure. After eating the dinner sent by the servant, he took out the computer in his bag, and planned to play games before the video chat with Yenjika. Ku is a guest at someone's house. Who wants a game? If not, I'll ask later. He sent a message in the university dormitory group and high school friend group. Kai Xiaoming laughed. "When we were short of hands, you were either with Yenjika or in the challenge tournament. Now that you have nothing to do, you want to play games with us? Love is not something you can buy whenever you want. At least treat us to a seafood meal. Brother Cheng, Master Cheng, it's 600,000 yuan. See this money? I bought a gift for Ko. Why should I treat you to a seafood meal?" Lu Cheng sent a picture of throwing money. It was quite interesting to bicker with Casanova every day. "Ugh, you're getting more and more disgusting. How dare you call yourself Ko?" Kai Zongming made a vomiting gesture. "And your fingers are getting more nimble and faster. It's boring to play with you. Of course it's boring to be abused all the time. I'm already controlling myself. I don't dare to use my full strength. Otherwise the screen will be broken." Lu Cheng laughed with arms akimbo. "By the way, Casanova, how's your training during the summer vacation?" "Haha, I'm invincible in our small city. Okay, I won't brag. I think it's not a problem to dominate our community. I think I've improved a lot. I think I'm at least of amateur second or third pin." Kai Zongming answered with uncertainty. While the two of them were chatting, Kai Zongming's dormitory mate, Qin Mo, the local rich second generation of Songcheng, appeared. Perfect. Since both of you are here, vote for me. One phone number can give 10 votes. What votes? Lu Qing asked casually. A selection. Vote for my Jingting. Qin Mo sent a link. It was a vote for Mo Jingting in a music show. F***CK. Why didn't I see that a beast like you would chase after stars? Every time they talked about this, Kai Zongming would make a sarcastic remark to show his true colors. Qin Mo replied with a bleak expression. Everyone has a white moonlight in their heart. I just happened to be hit by her. F***CK off. Jingting is mine. Old Qiu also showed up and played the part. Zhao Chong, the scholar, sighed helplessly. It's the nth degree season again. We can only help a little. Lu Qing couldn't help but twitch his mouth when he saw everyone making a racket. In the past, I quite liked Mo Jingting's TV shows and songs. But now, she doesn't seem to match her image at all. It's better to hear about her than to meet her in person. Before he could say anything, Jiang Fei responded. They formed a team and started to play games. When Yenjika returned home and turned on the computer, Lu Cheng pretended to be offline and tricked his teammates. Just as he was enjoying the video chat, he suddenly received a message from Martial Nephew Mo: Young Martial Uncle, isn't the scenery of the sect beautiful at night? Oh, ___. Oh, not beautiful. F***ck off. Lu Qing complained in his heart. He put his phone aside and continued the video chat. He planned to reply when he was free. Then he forgot about it. On the second floor of Tingxian Pavilion, a well-proportioned woman with shoulder-length straight hair was admiring the sea of pine trees at night. Senior sister, why do you think Master asked us to come here to watch the ceremony? Their elders are here. We can't do anything since we can't beat them. A baby-faced young man came out of the room. The woman with shoulder-length straight hair laughed. Master's purpose is very simple. Since we're here and we're standing there, there's a comparison. 25-year-old high rank and 22-year-old rank 6. This is the comparison. But that Lu Qing reached 7th pin in 1 year. That's quite impressive. The baby-faced young man spread his hands helplessly and started to browse Weibo. Suddenly, his eyes lit up when he saw hot news. Xing Province Young Martial Artist Record for Heavenly Sons. And the one with the most likes below was, how can they be called Heavenly Sons? In my opinion, only Peng Liyun and Run Li are in this generation. Chapter 286. Some mocked him, while others supported him. The one with the most likes was, even professional 8th pin, or even professional 7th pin after 1 year of martial arts training can't impress you guys. I Zhao Ritian admit defeat. While there were supporters, there were also rebuttals. The number of likes followed closely behind the previous one. For the real God's favored one pin a year before physical invulnerability is the norm. And there will always be a period of time where one can surpass others by 2 or even 3 pins in a year. Lu Qing has only shown his momentum and potential for now. He hasn't shown his ability to stand shoulder to shoulder with Peng Liyun and Run Li. So what if he's only been practicing martial arts for 1 year? Although Peng Liyun was chosen by Shangqing sect at a young age, he only went through the basic training before his body matured. He started to practice when he was about 16 or 17 years old. And he was already professional 8th pin Dan stage in his early 18 years. The brother in the previous one said it well. Peng Liyun should be at the stage of surpassing others. In the finals of the university martial arts competition in April, he showed fighting strength close to professional 6th pin. In the finals next year, maybe he can reach the inhuman stage and enter the high-ranked Dan stage. In that case, Lu Qing and Lin Ke will be suppressed until he graduates. Run Li also showed strength of professional 7th pin in the finals in April. And don't forget, she started school early and skipped grades. She is actually 1 year younger than Peng Liyun, which is the same as Lu Qing. Half a year has passed. With her speed of improvement, she will definitely reach professional 6th pin before the end of the year. Can you not use exclamation marks so much? Can't you speak properly? I Yi Liangchen am not convinced. Under these replies there was a repost and comment by a famous internet celebrity. The name of this famous internet celebrity was Superstitious Thoughts Are Not Allowed, and famous commentator He Xiaowei. He wrote a long post on Weibo at great length. I won't participate in the debate. I'll just talk about the 4 heavenly sons in my mind. According to the standard of Xing Province Youth Tournament, martial artists under the age of 26, Mr. Clown, I'm sorry. Don't look at me like that. I'll have nightmares. You're just 1 year older than me. First of all, it's a non-human creature. Just like how there are 4 heavenly kings, there should be 4 heavenly sons as well. And this non-human creature is the reincarnated living Buddha of Daxing Temple, Shirshan. Although he looks like Lu Huan, a 20-year-old physical invulnerability expert, is already one of the top 3 in the history of martial arts. More importantly, he just turned 22. The first heavenly son, Zhihai, a first-generation disciple of Daxing Temple, is a white-robed monk. He's not affected by the existence of the reincarnated living Buddha. He successfully reached the physical invulnerability stage last year when he was only 23 years old. The second heavenly son, Peng Liyun, a direct disciple of Shangqing sect, is an unusual genius. He's good at daydreaming, no thinking about life. According to reliable sources, he defeated 3 professional 6th pin masters in a row in the internal competition of Shangqing Sect a month ago. In other words, at the age of 20, he's not even a junior yet, but he's 80 to 90% sure that he'll get a professional 6th pin certificate. If there's no accident, it won't be difficult for him to reach the professional 4th pin level before he graduates. Of course, if he wants to catch up with Ji Hai, he'll have to put in more effort and have better luck. Otherwise, it's almost impossible for him to reach the physical invulnerability stage within a year. The third heavenly son, Runli of Kongtong School, just celebrated her 19th birthday on July 7th. She's a little younger than Lu Cheng. In the first half of the year, she's already at the top of professional 7th pin. It won't be difficult for her to reach the professional 6th pin level before the end of the year. She'll definitely reach the high pin level by graduation. Similarly, if she wants to reach the physical invulnerability stage at 23 and surpass Ji Hai, she'll have to work harder. She has a nice nickname, Morningstar. She also has a very friendly nickname, Little Li. The fourth heavenly son is still to be determined. Why is it still to be determined? And Chaoyang from Huahai is almost in his senior year, and is still trying to reach the professional 6th pin certificate. However, Queen of Thought from Shanghai Club chose him to join Shanghai Club, and said that he's a genius who can be recorded in the history of martial arts. We have to believe in the vision of this peerless expert who has won 20 titles in her lifetime. Maybe there's something special about An Chaoyang, but he hasn't shown it yet. Once the sleeping tiger wakes up, he'll be very scary. Zhen Huanxing from Guangnan used to be in the limelight. Currently, he's at the top of professional 7th pin. However, it's said that he indulged himself because of his talent and wasted the best time. He doesn't have much potential to go further. In my opinion, he might not even be able to beat Li Xiaoyuan from the same team in the final round of the National University Martial Arts competitions next year, let alone Lu Cheng, who's so strong now and is catching up with Peng Ren. In other words, there are many strong contenders for the position of the fourth heavenly son. However, they all have their own problems. They're either not mature enough, not in good condition, or only have potential. Therefore, we have to observe them for another year and a half to be determined. Candidates: An Chaoyang from Huahai, Zhen Huanxing from Guangnan, Li Xiaoyuan from Li Xiaoyuan, Lu Cheng from Songcheng, Lin Ke from Songcheng, Zhirong from Shanbei, Taoist Qingsong from Mount Shu. The last heavenly son will definitely be born from them. These are all people who are expected to reach the high pin before the age of 22. On the second floor of the Tingxian Pavilion, the baby-faced young man read the long Weibo carefully. He saw the various discussions below and the suggestions of other candidates. He smiled bitterly. A 22-year-old professional 6th pin like me isn't even qualified to be mentioned or compared. Ah! The woman with shoulder-length straight hair took the phone from her junior brother and looked at it again. In the end, she said with a bit of indignation and bitterness, "A 25-year-old high pin like me isn't qualified. Why do these people on the internet always like to compare martial artists? Where there are people, there are comparisons. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a professional challenge tournament. Forget it, senior sister. We don't have to compete. The one who can reach the physical invulnerability stage will be the final winner." The baby-faced young man sighed. After this incident, he was not interested in tomorrow's ceremony. He didn't even have the energy to show that his sect had a successor and suppress Lu Cheng's limelight. How should I say it? Although I'm stronger than Lu Cheng right now, Lu Cheng has only been practicing martial arts for a year, and is younger than me by 2 years. More importantly, Lu Cheng is qualified to be compared with Peng Liyun and Ren Li. My name won't appear on such an occasion at all. Who is the one suppressing whom? I hope Lei Fong and the others can make some trouble tomorrow. The woman with shoulder-length straight hair also lost interest. In the Songtao Pavilion, Lu Cheng was having a video call with Yan Zhika. The girl had taken a shower and changed into a nightgown. Her bare skin was whiter than snow. Her cheeks were rosy and tender. He wished he had the supernatural ability to transform into electric waves and crawl out of his girlfriend's computer screen through optical fibers. Then, he would hug her tightly and kiss her fiercely. Why is it more and more like a horror movie? Lu Qing stopped thinking about it and continued to talk to Yenjika about his master's question. This is good. I don't need to socialize too much, and I don't need to worry about too many things. My status is also very high. This is the status I dream of, Yenjika said with sparkling eyes. She agreed with her boyfriend's choice very much. The longer the relationship between two people, the more important it was to have the same values. In this way, even if your fellow disciples don't like you, they won't show any unfriendly behavior. Tomorrow, you will follow Coach Sher's arrangement. With him, you won't lose out and nothing will happen to you. The girl's voice was slightly raised. She was in a good mood. At this moment, her phone rang. Yenjika opened it and blurted out. Chung, Shuang said that the preview of the recording of the 4 Heavenly Sons was posted on Weibo. Really? Let me have a look. Lu Qing picked up the phone and unlocked the screen. He realized that he had forgotten to reply to Mo Jingting's message. Forget it. It's been so long. There's no need to reply. He thought in an open-minded manner. He lowered his head and browsed the comments. His actions were in sync with Yenjika's. After reading for a while, Yenjika raised her head and opened her mouth. She asked worriedly, Chung, don't mind what those keyboard warriors said. You haven't been practicing martial arts for long. You can't change some people's deep-rooted ideas. Look, my cousin is such a proud person. After watching your experience in the youth tournament, he was stimulated and trained harder. I'm not angry. Just a little bit. In fact, I'm quite happy. Lu Qing's expression was not clouded. He smiled gently and peacefully. Ah. Yenjika blinked her eyes. Lu Qing smiled slightly. Think about it. Half a year ago, I wasn't even qualified to be compared with Ren Li and Peng Liyun. Now, I'm placed next to their names. What's there to be dissatisfied and unhappy about? Besides, there's only motivation when there's a goal. His words made Yenjika's eyes light up. She secretly sighed with emotion. Unknowingly, Chung had grown to such a level, not only in martial arts, but also in many other aspects. Thinking back to last year, it really felt like a long time. The next morning, Lu Qing got up on time and practiced outside the Songtao Pavilion, even though he was going to formally become a disciple in the morning. When it was almost 7 o'clock, from the corner of his eye, he saw Mo Jingting in a dark blue martial arts suit running towards him. He heard her greeting him in high spirits. Good morning, junior martial uncle. You're also used to morning exercises. What a coincidence. She didn't mention the text message last night. Morning. Lu Qing didn't respond and focused on his own practice. As for Mo Jingting's attitude, he specifically asked his little fairy last night. According to Yenjika, after he expressed his attitude to the sect leader, she still wanted to come over. There was only one truth. That was, she wanted to make some emotional investment in her junior uncle, who had great potential and a bright future. It was best to make their relationship more ambiguous so that in the future, she could use his power to intimidate others. This was a common tactic used by many women in the entertainment circle. Seeing Lu Qing's indifference, Mo Jingting carefully followed the rules. She didn't watch her junior uncle practice and ran away from the Songtao Pavilion. The farther she went, the less smile she had on her face. She secretly gritted her teeth, took out her phone, and changed junior uncle to impotence in the contact list. After thinking for a while, she changed it to monk. At 9 o'clock in the morning, Lu Qing took a bath and burned incense. He changed into the dark blue martial arts suit of the Ice God sect, and followed 2 reception disciples through several buildings to the outside of the Ice God Palace. In the main hall, there were 2 statues in the front. One was the nominal founder of the Ice God sect, Ice Queen, and the other was the actual founder of the Ice God sect, Endless Ice Yang Chenghui. Beside the 2 statues were memorial tablets, which were the ancestors of the Ice God sect. In front of the incense table, on the left stood the head of the sect, He, and on the right stood Lu Qing's master, Shi Zhengwo. In order, first were the elders, then the disciples, and finally the guests. Just by setting up such a formation, a solemn and serene atmosphere was created. Chapter 287. Standing outside the hall, Lu Qing scanned the faces and matched them with the photos Yanjika found. At the front of the elders, the short and strong middle-aged man was Sheng Guotian, one of the 3 elders of physical invulnerability. He seemed to take better care of himself than the sect leader and Lu Cheng's master. That strong man with black hair without any wrinkles should be the eldest martial brother of this generation, Yang Xianlong. He was the one with real power in the Ice God sect. When martial uncle He Yi's energy was gradually declining, he was almost the acting sect master. The only woman with a seat other than the elders was definitely Lu Cheng's senior sister, Shi Yuejian. She had thick eyebrows, big eyes, and a gentle temperament. Although she was in her 30s, she looked like she was in her mid-20s. Sensing Lu Cheng's gaze, she looked back and nodded with a smile. Among the next generation of disciples, Yang Xianlong's second disciple, Zhu Tai, was at the front on the right. He was a 29-year-old fifth-pin mighty one. If he were in the martial arts circle or in Xing province, where martial arts were not very prosperous, he would definitely be the center of attention. However, he was wearing full-frame black-rimmed glasses, which made him look unusually quiet. Lu Qing found that his glasses had no degree at all. It seemed that they were more of a window to cover the soul. In front of him was Lei Feng, who had a chiseled face. This highly anticipated disciple had an ordinary appearance, but he was exceptionally spirited. He was brimming with confidence and vitality. When he walked on the road, he would definitely attract more attention than many handsome guys. At this time, he was also sizing him up. His gaze was quite complicated. Beside Lei Feng, Mo Jingting looked around with a charming smile on her face. From time to time, she would whisper something into her junior brother's ear. Her volume was just right, so it didn't affect the atmosphere in the hall at all. Looking around, Lu Qing had a rough idea of what was going on. Most of the sect's experts in dance stage and above who could make it back had already made it back, which was a show of respect to the sect. As for the disciples below dance stage, there were too many of them to accommodate all of them. Therefore, only a dozen or so were sent as representatives. Among the guests, Lu Qing saw 2 people that Coach Yin had specially emphasized. Spear King Huang Ke's 2 proudest disciples, the 25-year-old 5th pin dance stage Zheng Yu and the 22-year-old 6th pin dance stage Qian Qiyue, were both good-looking and good-looking. They were pleasing to the eye and were sizing him up with interest. Those from the Dinghai sect and the Hanqi sect were all in their 30s. They were polite and distant. As for the other guests, Lu Qing didn't recognize any of them. He guessed that they were representatives of sects that were on good terms with him. While he was observing the people in the hall from the corner of his eyes, sect leader He left his position and walked to the front of the incense table. He respectfully bowed to the ancestors, then straightened his back and shouted loudly, "Please use the ice essence bead." Ice essence bead? Last night, Lu Qing had especially crammed himself with relevant knowledge from the little fairy girl. His spirits were lifted, and he held his breath. It was said that this bead was formed when the founder of the sect, Yang Qinghui, passed away in meditation. It was full of mysteries and was the sect's most precious treasure. While he was thinking, he saw a faint blue light shining on the incense table, making it look cold and dreamy. He took out a translucent bead the size of half a fist from a secret compartment under the statue. It seemed to be condensed from pure blue light, and scenes of a world of ice and snow appeared inside it. Zheng Yu and Qian Qiyue stared at it without blinking. Normally, the ice essence bead wouldn't be here, so it wasn't easy to see it. However, Lu Qing was stunned because this ice essence bead was somewhat similar to the Jindan in his body. However, it didn't give off the feeling of being both material and spiritual. What on earth is it? He placed the ice essence bead in the middle of the incense table, turned around, and announced the start of the ceremony. Lu Qing collected his thoughts and followed the order. He stepped into the hall with his head held high, and walked to 1 meter in front of the incense table. "Greetings to the ancestors," Yang Xianlong shouted. Lu Qing respectfully followed the order. He first kowtowed 3 times and then lit 3 incense sticks. During this process, he was a little nervous. According to the development of some novels, the Jindan in his body might trigger the ice essence bead, and create a strange phenomenon that would shock everyone and slap them in the face. Fortunately, such a thing didn't happen. If it did, It would mean that the Jindan could actively communicate with the outside world without him activating it. That would be a big problem. Greetings to the masters. Yang Xianlong continued to sing. Lu Cheng thought about how his master worked so hard to get the visualization diagram of Zhurong force without asking for anything in return. He didn't resist and kowtowed again. The ceremony is complete. Disciple Lu Cheng offers the tea. After shouting, Yang Xianlong took a step back and returned to the line. Lu Cheng picked up the tea from the hands of the martial nephew beside him and offered it to Geyser with both hands. When the tea entered the range of the blue light of the ice essence bead, the temperature dropped rapidly and a thin layer of ice appeared on the surface of the water. Geyser took the tea and took a sip. He laughed and said, "Hurry up and greet the sect leader." Disciple Lu Cheng greets the sect leader. Lu Cheng turned to He. He took out a glittering ice crystal card and said with a smile, "You're now the 27th disciple of the sect leader. You are now the 27th generation disciple of our sect. According to the rules, you don't have a position in the sect and you don't get any subsidies. However, with this card, you can receive free cultivation elixirs and materials from our sect and Wuyue Club's pharmacy. 1 set per month." Sure enough, martial arts sects keep up with the times. In TV series they still have tokens and so on. In reality, they have developed to membership cards? Lu Cheng's soul of ridicule flared up. He held back his laughter, took the card, and thanked the sect leader. The process of apprenticeship was completed. He began to introduce him to his fellow disciples. Zheng Yu and Qian Qiyue, who were watching the ceremony, looked at Lei Fang as if they were waiting for a good show. However, what surprised them was that Lei Fang, who was always headstrong and arrogant, was so well-behaved that he didn't even make a verbal attack. On the contrary, Mo Jingting kept smiling and seemed to be very familiar with Lu Cheng. Just as they were wondering what happened behind the scenes, Geyser coughed twice and said, "Brat, let's go. Let's go." Lu Cheng let out an, and looked at his master in surprise. He just finished introducing his fellow disciples. Wasn't there supposed to be an apprenticeship ceremony? You have already paid your respects to the ancestral master and your fellow disciples. Why are you still here? Geyser didn't say more. He walked out of the hall with his hands behind his back. At this time, the sun outside dimmed and lead clouds gathered. A cold wind blew between heaven and earth, covering all the characteristics of summer. Zheng Yu and Qian Qiyue turned to look at Shi Jiangwo. They felt that he had a certain degree of connection with the surrounding nature, even though he didn't release his momentum. The wind blew harder into the hall, making Lu Cheng shiver. Following his master's order and Koqian's advice, he turned around and walked out of the hall, catching up with Geyser who was walking slowly forward. "Today, I'm following my master. I'll do whatever he says. Even if the sky falls, there's a tall one to hold it up." Shi Yuejian frowned and sighed helplessly. She took a step forward and followed him. Whoosh! The wind whistled and white snowflakes gathered and floated down. Zheng Yu reached out her hand and caught one. She felt a slight chill and saw real snowflakes. The snow was falling more and more fiercely. The trees were white and the earth was old. The snow piled up on the roofs of houses and covered the entire ice god sect. At the beginning of August, it was the height of summer. Even if it was cool halfway up the mountain, it was only relatively cool. But now at this moment here it was freezing cold and there was a violent snowstorm. Qian Qiyue stared blankly as if he was in a dream. But the coldness on his face and the snow in his hands were so real. He looked at his senior sister next to him in shock, and saw the same shock in Zheng Yu's eyes. Even his own master couldn't do this. Mo Jingting, Lei Fang, and the others froze and shivered involuntarily. They suddenly thought of a rumor in the sect. Senior granduncle was one of the few strong masters, and had a chance to enter the forbidden area. Unfortunately, is this the horror of his full strength? Lu Cheng looked around, and was also shocked. Stepping on the squeaking snow, he followed his master and senior sister out of the sect in the vast expanse of snow. The world was white and so clean. He stood there and looked at the scene in a daze. Suddenly he understood what his junior brother wanted to say. It's not that he couldn't fight, but he didn't want to and disdained to fight. Chapter 288. Born in the South, Lu Qing grew up in the South and studied in the South. In the first 19 years of his life, Lu Qing had only seen snow a few times. It was not until he went to Yanling for the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament that he realized what a world of ice and snow and a sky full of goose feathers meant. However, compared to the current scene, the memory of that time paled in comparison. In just over a minute, at least 5 centimeters of snow had accumulated under his feet. Once he stepped on it, his footprints would appear and squeak. He was surrounded by a vast expanse of white. Except for the snow and the wind, he could barely see more than a few meters away. He subconsciously wanted to say something, but as soon as he opened his mouth, the cold wind poured in and the snow filled his mouth. His words were forcibly stopped. Practicing martial arts to such a level, he was really a living immortal. No wonder Master said that many ancient myths and legends originated from the deeds of tyrannical martial artists. I don't know when I can have such strength. As these thoughts flashed through his mind, he followed his master and senior sister, and walked out of the sect in the snow-white and clean world. He came to a nearby parking lot and saw cars covered in thick frost. Shi Yuejian raised her right hand and waved it forward, making the wind stronger. It whistled and blew her car clean. It was a beautiful 4-seater sedan with a brand that Lu Qing didn't recognize. She opened the back door and watched her father get in. Then she said angrily, "If you want to cough, just cough it out." Geezershire smiled and wanted to say something, but what came out of his mouth was a series of violent coughs. He was hoarse, which made Lu Qing's scalp numb and full of worry. At the same time, he felt that the mood of endless wind and snow was interrupted. The fluttering goose feathers began to slow down and become fewer and fewer. Senior sister, is Master okay?" he blurted out. Shi Yuejian took a breath and sighed faintly. "He won't die yet." Speaking of this, she showed a soft and helpless smile. "Your master is the most prideful. His body is already in such a state, but he still made such a big scene. He has plenty of ways to protect you. Cough, cough, I'm fine. Ahem, I am not as stupid as your junior brother. Ahem, I secretly borrowed a little, of the power of the ice essence bead." Geezershire defended himself stubbornly. He seemed to have recovered. Lu Qing heaved a sigh of relief. "Master, it's good that you've recovered. Take a rest first. I'll be right there." Putting aside his worries, he walked to the other side of the car and took out his phone. He clicked on the camera function of QQ and recorded the scene in the snowstorm. Then he sent the video to Yanzhika section by section. The corners of Shi Yuejian's mouth twitched as she watched. "I don't understand young people these days. If it were me back then, how would I have the mood to take photos or videos after such a huge shock? Cough, I don't understand either." Geezershire tilted his head and looked through the car window with his mouth half open at his silly disciple who was concentrating on taking notes. Without his support, the snowflakes became thinner and thinner, and the storm became softer and softer. Dozens of seconds later, the dark clouds dispersed and the scorching sun reappeared, shining on the cold and snowy ice god sect. Lu Qing stopped recording, patted his head and clothes, and brushed off the snowflakes. Then he returned to Shi Yuejian's car and smiled shyly. "Senior sister, I was impulsive just now. Sorry to keep you waiting." "You don't have to be so polite. You're my father's first disciple, my first junior brother. I'll protect you no matter what. It's not good to be so distant. Just treat me as your sister." Shi Yuejian replied with a gentle smile and pointed to the car door. "Let's go up first. We'll talk on the way." "Okay." Lu Qing was influenced by her attitude and his tone became lighter. He sat beside his master and closed the door. Shi Yuejian started the car and drove to the mountain road. It took less than 4 minutes from the gathering of the dark clouds to the clearing of the snow. At this time, in a black car, a man who was addicted to playing with his phone raised his head and shook his neck to relax his cervical vertebrae. Suddenly, his line of sight froze on the snow-white ground and trees outside. "What's this?" The man subconsciously unbuckled his seatbelt, opened the door and walked out. He found that his beloved car was also covered in a thick layer of snow. A few children who came out of nowhere were happily piling strange snow dolls on the front of the car. The man picked up his phone and dialed a number. "Hello, wife. What's the date today? What month is it? Why the hell am I so confused? In the Ice God Palace, the guests looked at each other and didn't say anything for a long time. Zheng Yu seized the last moment to take a photo and record it. She then sent it to her master's email. Then she walked out of the hall and found a secluded place. Under Qian Chiyue's watchful eyes, she made a call. A deep and magnetic voice came out. What happened in the Ice God sect? If there wasn't anything important, the two mature disciples wouldn't have specially called. Master, please check your inbox. I recorded a video and took a picture. Even Elder Shi Jiangwo of the Ice God sect showed his power to us and his disciples. Zheng Yu hadn't completely calmed down yet, so her words were a little messy. Spear King Huang didn't ask more. He said in a deep voice, "Good, I'm beside the computer." Although he was in his 40s, he still had to learn how to operate a computer when he started to need it in every aspect of his life. Hearing the click of the mouse, Zheng Yu patiently waited for her master's comment. After a while, after an inexplicable silence, Huang Ke said in a low voice, "The rumors were true." In the quiet sedan car, Lu Qing suddenly heard breathing that sounded like snoring. He quickly turned his head and found that his master had fallen asleep. He seemed very tired. "Senior sister, is master's health not good?" Lu Qing asked in a low voice. He knew that Shi Yuejian could hear him clearly. Shi Yuejian smiled bitterly. "You could say that it's not good. Otherwise, why would I restrict a physical invulnerability expert from drinking? But sometimes, when I think about how old he is and how his body is in this state, if he still has to give up his hobby, it would be meaningless for him to live. So I just turn a blind eye." She rambled on for a long time before adding, "My dad is only 3 years older than your headmaster. A mighty one with physical invulnerability at his age wouldn't look like he's in his 70s or 80s without some special reasons. It's normal to look like Uncle Shun with some white hair." "Ah, master is just in his 60s. Then why does martial uncle sect leader look so old?" Lu Qing asked in confusion. Shi Yuejian was amused. "That's because martial uncle sect leader is already very old. He's the eldest disciple of that generation. Almost 30 years older than my father. He just celebrated his 90th birthday last year. Besides, he has to worry about sect affairs and work hard, so he ages faster than normal physical invulnerability experts." Then she sighed and said, "When my father entered the sect, martial uncle sect leader was already a physical invulnerability expert. He was almost the one who taught the younger disciples. He's half a disciple and half a disciple. If it's not a matter of principle, my father won't argue with him." She gave her junior brother a reminder. "If that's the case, Yang Xianlong shouldn't be the eldest disciple of the sect leader. Maybe his former disciple was sacrificed in that war-torn era." While thinking, Lu Qing asked tentatively, "Is it because master was injured?" "Well, don't ask too much about this. When it's time for you to know, you'll know," Shi Yuejian replied softly. "What kind of injury could cause a physical invulnerability expert's body to collapse and not be able to recover? What kind of expert was capable of inflicting such a terrifying injury?" Lu Cheng's thoughts fluctuated, and he actually felt somewhat shaken to the core. "Can it be cured? Is there a way?" he asked with concern. He had to develop himself in the direction where he could contribute his meager strength. Shi Yuejian shook her head slightly and said, "Not yet. We've tried many times but failed. I hope the military's latest research will come out soon. And maybe those seniors who are trying to find another way from cultivation can come up with something." Cultivation. Lu Qing was lost in thought. He felt like he had seen the light but couldn't find the direction. "Let's not talk about this. Anyway, my father can live for another 7 or 8 years. Maybe there will be a way by then." Shi Yuejian changed the topic and talked about various anecdotes in the sect to lighten the mood. At this time, Yin Zheka replied to the previous video. "What's wrong? Why is it snowing in June? No, it's snowing in August. Chung, you're formally apprenticing yourself to a master, not to seek redress," she joked playfully and added a blank face emoji to show her confusion. The Ice God sect was not on the top of the mountain. Even if it was, There wouldn't be snow in this season given the height of Yambing Mountain. With both hands on the keyboard, Lu Qing summarized everything that had happened. With the video as a reference, it was pretty vivid. Coach sure is so powerful. Yenjika sent a dumbfounded emoji. Even my grandpa can't do this. She only mentioned her grandpa and didn't mention her grandma. It seemed that she thought her grandpa was more powerful. Lu Qing thought for a while and said, I've seen a video of Warrior Sage. He seemed to be able to do something similar, but not Brutal Blizzard. Yes, I've seen it too. So Dragon King should be able to do it too. Qing, you've got a great master. Yenjika replied with surprise and joy. Then she sent a scratching head emoji. But Coach Shi's body seems to be not very good. Well, it said that he was injured. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come to teach us in the university. Lu Qing sent a sighing emoji. This might be fate's arrangement. Suddenly, his phone vibrated and he received a message from Marshall Nephew Mo. Marshall Granduncle's strength is really terrifying. I can't believe my eyes. Lu Qing wasn't afraid of Mo Jingting. He wouldn't avoid her like she was a snake or a scorpion. He didn't even dare to reply to her text messages. He just wanted to keep a distance from her. Furthermore, he didn't like to have any kind of relationship with scheming people. So he just replied politely, I'm also shocked. Junior Marshall Uncle finally replied to me. Hehe, I thought you changed your phone number. Mo Jingting responded quickly. Lu Qing glanced at the message and ignored it. He continued to chat with his senior sister and Yenjika. In his spare time, he browsed the forum and looked at the active territories of his family. Eternal Nightfall and Brahmin were quite positive about the Weibo post of the 4 heavenly sons. Lu Qing's increase in strength made them feel like they were in a dream. They were not used to it and felt that it was better to be modest. Unknowingly, the sedan came to the place where Geyser got in the car yesterday, Shi Yuejian's house. Back in those days, I didn't blush or pant when I did such a thing. Geyser woke up on time and sighed. I'm old now. Chapter 289. Geyser sighed, and was about to roll down the car window to take a breath of fresh air, when he noticed Lu Qing was staring at him with a complicated expression. Brat, what are you thinking about? Geyser said in annoyance. Lu Qing's mood was quite heavy at this time. At first, he just thought that his master was old, and had an old problem of coughing, so it was inevitable that there would be a little bit of backlash after showing off his martial prowess. He would be fine after some time. After he got on the car and chatted with his senior sister for a while, he realized that his master's physical condition was very bad, and the problem was quite serious. In modern society, it was common for ordinary people to live more than 70 years. However, a mighty one of physical invulnerability, who was in his early 60s, could only live for 7 or 8 years. Thinking of this, Lu Qing recalled his master's figure walking with his hands behind his back in the brutal snowstorm. How could he not feel sad and depressed? However, senior martial sister said that master is the most prideful. According to my daily observation, this is also the case. Therefore, I can't look at him sympathetically, and I can't say anything like a little girl crying. He thought for a while and squeezed out a smile. I was thinking about what happened just now. I always knew you were very powerful, but I didn't expect you to be so powerful. Like a fairy, you made the snow fall in August without even waving your hand. Geyser beamed with joy at once. He chuckled and said humbly, I can't. Back then, I didn't need to borrow the power of the ice essence bead. I could do it easily. Brat, you finally got a hold of me. Shi Yuejian shook her head with a smile. She drove the car into the villa area and parked it in her garage. After opening the door and entering the house, she changed into slippers and said with a smile, Junior brother, help yourself. I won't treat you as a guest. I'm going to make a bowl of pear soup with rock sugar for your master. After that, she saw Lu Qing's slightly surprised eyes. She tilted her head and asked, What's wrong? What's so strange? No, nothing. I just didn't expect a mighty one of physical invulnerability to cook in person. Lu Qing explained with a smile. It's my hobby. I like to do these things. If I didn't have the talent for martial arts, I would probably be a chef or a pastry chef. Shi Yuejian chuckled and walked to the open kitchen. Remember to lower the temperature when you're done stewing. How are you going to drink it if it's not cold in summer? Shi shouted at his daughter's back. Lu Qing was about to volunteer to complete the task with his supernatural ability of frost when he heard Shi Yuejian say with a helpless smile, "Yes, yes, yes. I'll help you freeze with ice spirit force." Well, as expected of a physical invulnerability expert of the ice sect. I won't show off in front of an expert. Lu Qing wiped his non-existent cold sweat and sat on the sofa opposite Shi. He asked with concern, "Master, is there any progress in the research of cultivation?" If there was, he might be able to comprehend by analogy and lay a solid foundation for finding a way to treat his master in the future. There's not much progress. If there was, would those old men have been able to hold themselves back from calling me to show off? Shi replied with a look of disdain. Well, I'm going to the military's secret base tomorrow, so I thought I'd drop by and get some information for you. Hee hee, I've made contributions to the military, so they give me a checkup every year. I was supposed to go there 2 days ago, but you were such a troublemaker. You won the youth tournament, and even let your sect master know about it. Regular checkup? Lu Qing suddenly recalled his earliest conversation with his master. His master had said, "Do the work of being studied." Just as he was trying to hold back his laughter, Shi shook his head and coughed twice. You've chosen this path of mixed cultivation, so every step you take in the future will be harder than usual. I can only give you some advice based on my experience and knowledge. It's okay before you reach physical invulnerability, but after that, you have to be mentally prepared. I understand, Master. Lu Qing took a deep breath. This was the inevitable price he had to pay for not giving up his biggest advantage. Shi was serious for less than a minute before he clicked his tongue and said, "That's not necessarily a bad thing. Misfortune may be a blessing in disguise. You may be talented, but that's only in comparison to the average martial artist. You're nothing compared to the truly talented martial artists who only appear once in hundreds or thousands of years. For example, warrior sage Qian Donglu, Daxing Temple's Ji Hai, Shangqing Sect's Peng Liyun, and your master. If you practice normally, the speed of your improvement can be predicted, but the height you can reach in the future will not exceed the range of estimation. It's hard to have any surprises. How can you catch up with the people in front of you? As for the current path, it's full of variables, but there's hope when there's variables. Sigh, it's hard to say. If you follow the path of martial arts practice honestly, you may have great achievements. You're quite like the Dragon King. He didn't mention the reincarnated living Buddha of Daxing Temple, Shan. In the kitchen, Yu was dissatisfied. She protested. Dad, how is junior brother like the Dragon King? She had just finished boiling the pear and pear soup. She washed her hands and walked back to the living room. The Dragon King's desire for victory is so abnormal. How is junior brother like him? Hey, the Dragon King's desire for victory is more than abnormal. It's extremely abnormal. Shi didn't refute. As a fan of the Dragon King, Lu Qing was interested. Senior sister, can you tell me more about the Dragon King? The reporters' interviews and the TV broadcast made the Dragon King's image appear blurry. As the main force of the Wuyue Club, as a mighty one with physical invulnerability in the upper class of the martial arts circle, and as an opponent who often dealt with the Dragon King, his senior sister's impression of the Dragon King might be more realistic. Sure, you keenly sensed the change in his attitude. She laughed and said, "You're an admirer of the Dragon King? This weekend, our Wuyue Club is going to the south to challenge the Longhu Club. Although I may not be able to fight with him, I can introduce you to him after the match. How about it? Do you want to go? The Dragon King is quite kind to his fans. He's quite nice." Lu Qing was excited, but thinking that he had asked for leave for several days, he resisted the temptation. "I have to go to work the day after tomorrow. I can't always ask for leave after taking money from others. Senior sister, I won't stand on ceremony. If there's a chance in the future, take me with you. Anyway, the Dragon King won't run away." After getting the 600,000 yuan bonus, the part-time salary seemed to be dispensable. However, the youth tournament championship was a product of coincidence. He had never expected to get it before. Since he had promised the Gushin Martial Arts School, he couldn't go back on his word. He had to do what he said. A man's promise was worth 1,000 gold. Well, junior brother, you have self-control. I suddenly feel that you are a little like the Dragon King. Sure, you nodded with emotion. Then she said, so you have to go back to Xing province tomorrow? Your brother-in-law is on a business trip abroad, and won't be back for several days. We can only meet next time. This is too rushed. I don't know what the sect leader martial uncle is thinking. Lu Qing talked about this topic for a while, and then returned to the previous matter. He thought about the implication of his senior sister's words. The Dragon King is very kind to his fans. What about other martial artists? In the mouth of the Dragon King's anti-fans and in many gossip news, Dragon King Chen Qitao was a contradictory person with both pride and inferiority. He was vain, harsh, overbearing, and narrow-minded. Shi Yuejian pondered for a moment before replying. As I said just now, the Dragon King has an almost perverted desire for victory. Such a kung fu master will be very kind to his teammates and fellow disciples in some aspects, but he will also be very harsh and inhumane in other aspects. But when it comes to enemies and opponents, he won't accept any failure. Once he is in a bad situation and loses to his opponent, you can't expect him to be kind to you and show you the demeanor of a master. Especially if he wins against the warrior sage at the same time, he will definitely be angry. He cares a lot about the outside world's evaluation, especially the comparison with the warrior sage. But I have to admit that he's an admirable martial artist. No matter how much we hate his physical invulnerability, we can't deny this fact. In our eyes, it's a well-known fact that the warrior sage, Qian Donglu, only appears once in 1,000 years. He's a genius who can surpass all the other martial artists of his generation. It's shocking for others to reach the physical invulnerability stage at 23 or 24, but he's already reached the first pin level at 24 and obtained his first title. There is a big gap between the Dragon King's talent and his. In order to catch up with the warrior sage and not be a loser, he has put in a lot of effort and hardships. You can't imagine. Geyser clicked his tongue and said, I know about this. At least I fought with the Dragon King, no Chen Qitao, for a while. Ah. Master, when was that? Lu Cheng was at a loss. As a die-hard fan of the Dragon King, how can I not know? Geyser chuckled and said, you should remember that one year, cough cough, Chen Qitao almost disappeared. He didn't participate in many challenge tournaments and announced that he was recuperating. I remember that the Dragon King hadn't won any titles back then. Lu Qing vaguely guessed the whole story. A year ago, he made it to the final stage of several major title competitions, but lost to Qian Donglu without exception. The media, who thought that the legendary twins were hyping him up, were disappointed. They published articles saying that he wasn't qualified to be called the warrior sage. Shi Yuejian answered on behalf of her father. This greatly affected the Dragon King. He changed his mind and applied to go to the war-torn zones. He put his life on the line and honed himself on the edge of life and death for 10 months. When he came back, he defeated Qian Donglu 3 times and won 3 titles in a year. Geyser leaned back in his seat and said in a reminiscing tone. Chen Qitao was already a first-pin fighter back then. Originally, his room for improvement was very limited. But TSK, you didn't see how crazy he was back then. In the end, he actually transformed completely. Hearing about the Dragon King's past, Lu Qing was fascinated and a little excited. This was how a martial artist should be. Qian Donglu was my junior. But after he won a title, he had to respectfully call him the warrior sage. He had a lot of genius flaws. He didn't work hard enough. You could even say that he was lazy. He didn't stand when he could sit or lie down when he could. In the beginning, he relied on his desire for a title to maintain his diligence. After he made a name for himself, he felt that he could win easily and became more and more relaxed. At this time, the Dragon King appeared and beat him until he almost lost all his confidence. It wasn't easy for him to pull himself together and make the most of his talent, Geyser said excitedly. You could say that without the Dragon King's stimulation, he wouldn't be so close to becoming the warrior sage now. And without the warrior sage as a target to catch up with, the Dragon King wouldn't have reached his current state. He deserves to be called the legendary twins. Shi Yuejian sighed again. Lu Qing listened with great interest. His blood was boiling. Was this the real Dragon King and the real warrior sage? After lunch, Shi led him to the second floor. He took out 2 visualization diagrams and made a joke. These are the prairie fire painting and the Zhurong painting. You can take them back with you, but if you lose them, I won't take the blame for you. I'll figure out a way to make up for it and repay the debt. Thank you, Master. Lu Qing didn't mind Shi's joke. Holding back his excitement, he took the visualization diagrams. One of them was full of flames of various colors. Just by looking at it, he felt like he was beside a sea of molten iron. The other one was of a fire god with the body of a beast and the face of a man standing on a red dragon. He was violent and suppressing the flames. Seeing him like this, Shi, who was standing at the side, put his hands behind his back and walked to the door. He stopped there, coughed, and said casually, "Brat, send the videos you took to my email." Huh. Lu Qing looked at his master blankly. Chapter 290. After a short moment of confusion, Lu Qing quickly understood his master's intention. He tried to hold back his laughter and said, Okay, I'll send it to you later. Haha, is he going to record the scene of me showing off my power? Or show it off to my old friends? No wonder he's a master with perfect skills. Thinking of this as a backup lover, he decided to save a copy of these videos on his computer, so that he wouldn't lose them if his phone malfunctioned. This was Master's great achievement. As he thought of this, Lu Qing suddenly froze. Damn it, where's my computer? No, not just my computer, where's all my luggage? Shi cleared his throat. Just as he was about to walk out the door and go downstairs, he heard Lu Cheng's voice suddenly. Master, I think I left my luggage on the mountain. On the mountain? Shi was stunned and suddenly remembered that he didn't give his silly disciple time to pack his luggage in the Songtao Pavilion. After that, the two of them completely forgot about this matter. They chatted casually for more than 2 hours, and even enjoyed a sumptuous lunch. The master and disciple stared at each other for half a minute. Shi was experienced and didn't panic in the face of danger. He quickly returned to normal and laughed dryly. You little brat, you were shocked by such a small scene? You even forgot your luggage? Haha, such a small thing. Why are you looking at me? You can just find one of your martial nephews to bring it to you later. After that, he nimbly walked out of the door and prepared to take a nap. Lu Qing didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he watched his master leave. He reached out to cover his face and sighed deeply. It felt good to show off and leave my luggage on the mountain. And more importantly, master, you were in a hurry to show off your power and didn't give me a chance to exchange contact information with my martial nephews. The only one at the moment is Mo Jingting. Do I have to rely on her? Forget it, she looks like the kind of person who can cause trouble. There's no need to get involved. I'd better find my senior sister and ask her to help inform one of her martial nephews on the mountain. Lu Qing calmed down and took out his phone, intending to write an email and send the video to his master. During the process, the corners of his mouth first curled up into a smile, in order to tease the old man. However, very soon, the smile fell and became sad. Will my master have a chance to do something like this in the future? Was it possible for his injuries to recover? Was it really only 7 or 8 years? He wanted to do something for his master, but with his status, strength, connections, and knowledge, if his master and senior sister couldn't do it, how could he do it? Just thinking about it gave him no clue or direction. He could only hope that the things of cultivation would be useful. Even if the cultivation stuff was useful, he still had to wait for the research results from the other side to help him gain something from the Jindan. This wasn't something that could be seen in a year or two, especially the latter. Based on the fact that Longhu Immortal was said to be comparable to the peak of physical invulnerability, and the fact that he had been comprehending the ice and fire starry sky for almost a year, even if there was any core, It would only appear in the process of breaking through to physical invulnerability. There was still a long way to go. At the age of 19, Lu Qing was full of confidence and felt that he could change the world. He felt that as long as he put in the effort, he would definitely gain something. The experience in the past year reinforced this feeling. However, at this time he felt powerless, sad, and insignificant. He wanted to do it, but there was nothing he could do. He could only bury this matter at the bottom of his heart and not think about it. In the next few years, he would work hard to find hope and improve his strength as soon as possible. There was a lot of sadness and helplessness in his heart, but he still had to face life with a smile. This was probably life, and this was probably maturity. Lu Qing took a breath and slowly exhaled. He moved his thumb and clicked send. Then he changed the program and sent a message to Yenjika. Is there an expert on your grandpa's side who is especially good at treating internal injuries? The symptoms are coughing. Among all the people I know, it seems that only 'cause grandpa can help my master. Yenjika first sent an emoji wiping off cold sweat, then touched the head emoji and said, "Silly Chung, why don't you just ask Coach Shi directly?" In the chat in the morning, she only heard her boyfriend mention that Coach Shi had been injured and was not in good health. But now, even if Lu Qing tried to hide it, she was keenly aware of that kind of depression. She was shocked and thought of what had happened before. She hurriedly added, "He changed the weather this morning and was hurt by the backlash? His physical condition is very bad?" She had been learning martial arts from Coach Shi for almost a year. Even if she was often teased and made fun of, she still felt that the old man was half a teacher to her. More importantly, Coach Shi was Lu Qing's master. Of course she would be worried and concerned about him. Lu Qing told his girlfriend about his master's condition and what senior sister had said. In the end, he was not in the mood to express his feelings. "I don't know what I can do." Do what you can do. Don't think that you can do everything. Practice martial arts well and become stronger early. This may be what Coach Shi wants to see the most. And the stronger you are, the more you can get in touch with people of a higher level and find more ways. This was the first time Yenjika encountered such a situation. She did not know how to comfort the stupid Chung. Lu Qing knew that this was not a problem that could be solved in a short time, and it was also not a problem that he could think of a solution for now. He slowly adjusted his mood in the girl's gentle words and eased his helplessness. In the end, Yenjika returned to the topic and said, "Shushan study has a lot of seniors who read Taoist scriptures and practice alchemy. I'll call my grandpa and ask. Coach Shi is also my coach. He will definitely understand and help." Yes. Although I think it is unlikely that my master has not contacted Shushan study," Lu Qing said with a forced smile. It was one of the greatest blessings in life to have Yenjika by his side when he was feeling down. Her gentle consolation and empathic help was by his side. After waiting for a while, Yenjika said with a pair of open eyes emoji, "My grandpa said that your senior sister went to Shushan specifically for this matter. Unfortunately, the head of the Shushan study and several elders worked together, but still failed to cure Coach Shi. So that's how it is." Lu Qing looked at the phone screen and smiled bitterly. His senior sister and his master's old buddies must have tried everything that could be tried. Don't be too disappointed. Like you said, Coach Shi can live for at least 7 or 8 years. With the rapid development of science and technology, the masters at the peak of martial arts often fight with each other. Many of their unique skills are integrated and new ideas are constantly being developed. In a few years, maybe there will be a solution? Maybe one of the Dragon King and Warrior Sage will break through to the Forbidden Area? I heard from my grandpa that Coach Shi has a close relationship with the Longhu Club and a friendship with Taoist Wuguang from the Shangqing sect. As long as he is alive, there is hope. Yenjika tried to sound positive. Yes, as long as he is alive, there is hope. Lu Qing repeated and tried to walk out of the haze. While waiting for the development of science and martial arts, he worked hard to improve himself so that he could reach physical invulnerability as soon as possible, unravel the secret of Jindan and find an effective solution. If my master's old buddies have any research on cultivation, I'm willing to cooperate with them wholeheartedly. In the afternoon, after calming down, he started his daily training, and comprehended the essence and charm of the Prairie Fire picture and Jurong picture. For the first few times, he didn't plan to use Jindan to speed up his progress because it would hinder him from comprehending other visualization pictures in the future. Not every visualization picture belonged to ice and fire, and could rely on Jindan. After practicing martial arts for 3 hours and sweating profusely, Lu Qing felt that his body was much more relaxed. His mood was also much better. The youth tournament was over and he was officially accepted into his master's sect. In the days to come, he didn't have to run around or worry about social interactions. He could focus on practicing martial arts and spend more time with his loved ones. Life is short. You have to cherish the time you have with each other. The next day, he saw off his master who was going to the secret military base, and took the luggage sent by a martial nephew named Lu Tang last night. He took his senior sister Shi Yuejian's car, and arrived at Shanggao Airport. He boarded the return flight, and successfully returned to Xing Province. Lu Qing took the high-speed train near the airport, and appeared at the Xiushan train station with his luggage. He first reported the itinerary to Yanzhika and then strode out. At this moment, a girl who looked like a high school student suddenly stopped him and asked curiously and excitedly, "Are you the champion of the youth tournament, Lu Qing? I've seen you on TV several times." Yes. Lu Qing was startled and didn't deny it. Are all girls nowadays so unafraid of strangers? Haha, I knew it. Can you sign for me? You're so awesome. Many of our classmates like you and think you're a big hero of Xiushan. The girl threw her school bag in front of her and found a pen and paper. Big hero? Hey. Lu Cheng's mood hadn't completely recovered yet, but he couldn't help but feel happy. He took the pen and quickly signed his name. The girl solemnly put away the notebook and waved her hand with a big smile. After a few steps, she turned her head and said mischievously while dragging her luggage, "Hero Lu, practice your handwriting well." Lu Qing was stunned for 2 seconds and watched her run away. Then he came back to his senses and complained in his heart, "My handwriting is not ugly. It's normal, unlike a novel author with a long pen name. Her handwriting is like a primary school student's." He complained about this matter to Yanzhika, which made her laugh for a long time. In the end, she sent a hand over her mouth and said, "Cheng, you'll become more and more famous in the future. You should learn from those stars and wear a pair of glasses. I don't want to be surrounded by a bunch of people when we go out on a date." Speaking of this, she sent an emoji of touching her full belly and exhaling. "This doesn't seem right. If we really do this, the next day, the news will definitely spread throughout the school. A certain general with the surname Lu was abandoned by his girlfriend, and a muscular man was no match for a bespectacled scholar." Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh, and then he felt warm in his heart. Since last night, Ko had been trying hard to make him laugh to relieve the depression in his heart. How could he not notice this kind of intention? After leaving the station, Lu Qing didn't dare to take the bus anymore. He directly called a black cab and was anxious to go home. On the way home, after the incident with his master, his hesitant idea became clearer. That was to buy a house for his parents, a house in Xiushan. He couldn't wait until the time when his parents were gone. Cherish the people in front of him. This was the biggest realization he had right now. Chapter 291. When he got home, it was still early. Lu Qing diligently disposed of the clothes he had saved for the past 2 days, made a backup copy of the valuable things stored in the computer, and even did some housework. After finishing all this, his mother, Qi Fang, slowly came back from the community office. As soon as she entered the door, she saw the clean coffee table. She looked suspiciously at her son, who was waiting for praise with a face full of pride, and blurted out, "Cheng, what's wrong with you?" "Nothing." Lu Qing denied. "Don't I also clean the dormitory at school? I was bored just now, so I just did it on a whim." Qi Fang didn't care too much about it. She smiled and complained, "You son, why didn't you tell us in advance that you were going to become a disciple? We didn't prepare any special products for your master. It's so impolite." "Don't say that. I know your master is a big shot and may not like us, But we still have to show our sincerity. As the TV series say, it's the thought that counts. Mom, the sect was too hasty. Don't worry, I prepared some special products for you. My master is very satisfied with 4 bottles of original proof wine from Ningxue Daku. He likes it very much. Lu Qing smiled and comforted his mother. Your daughter-in-law is so considerate. Qi Feng looked at him up and down and showed a suspicious look. You're so considerate. Although his son had indeed grown up and matured, it was very difficult for him to understand the details of interpersonal relationships on his own if no one taught him. But I didn't have time to tell him. As for his father, Humph, it's good enough that I didn't neglect it. That's right. It's all thanks to Mom's teachings. Lu Qing flattered against his conscience, which made Qi Feng beam. She went into the kitchen and began to prepare dinner. Lu Qing didn't mention the matter of buying a house. When his father got off work and the family sat and chatted to eat to their heart's content, he said seriously, Mom, Dad, when you're free, you should go and look at the surrounding buildings, the ones that are less than 3 years old. What? Qi Feng was confused. Lu Qing explained slowly. Didn't I win the championship and get 600,000 yuan as a prize? I was thinking, to buy a new house for our family. Now 2 bedrooms and a living room are too small. It's not convenient for guests to come in. Oh. Qi Feng was surprised and then smiled from ear to ear. Chung, it's good that you're so considerate. You don't need to buy a house. In another 2 years, we will have enough money for the down payment. Hee, let me tell you, Fatty Gua and his wife are very polite to your father now. Their salaries have been increased, and they have also given us the bonuses for the technical improvements. Lu Jixing couldn't help but smile. He tried to maintain his dignity and said, Your mom is right. It's good that you're considerate. It's not like we can't eat and can't save money. 600,000 yuan is a lot in a small place like ours. But I heard that your martial arts expenses are also quite high. Don't be so extravagant. Save it, you'll have plenty of places to use it in the future. Yes, Chung, you're successful now. In the future, you won't be cooped up in a small place like Xioshan. I heard that the housing prices in big cities are very high, several thousand yuan per square meter. If you want to buy a spacious house, 600,000 yuan won't be enough for the down payment. Save it up and use it when you get married in the future. Qi Feng said with a smile. There's something wrong with this script. Why is it related to housing prices in big cities? Lu Cheng's mouth twitched, but he didn't correct his mom's wrong idea. Not every big city is several thousand yuan per square meter. He thought for a while and deliberately put on a confident attitude. Mom, Dad, you're thinking too far ahead, aren't you? Well, let's talk about something more distant. With my current strength and level, even if there's no big improvement in the future, it's not a problem to earn 1 or 2 million yuan a year. If I'm lucky and win a few championships, my income will be even higher. I don't need 600,000 yuan, so I'm not afraid of not having a down payment. And the housing prices in Xioshan are not high. Didn't you say that the surrounding area is only 3,500 yuan per square meter? A better neighborhood is only 4,000 yuan. If I buy a house of 120 or 130 square meters, I'll still have about 100,000 yuan left. It's enough for 1 or 2 years' expenses. Besides, it's not like I can't make money. Save up your savings. You'll be able to save them in the future. Lu Qing made a joke to dispel his parents' worries. Qi Feng was quite convinced. I heard that the housing prices in Xioshan are low and will rise in the future. If we don't buy now, we'll be wasting money in 2 years. That's low? Xioshan is not a big city. How can it rise? Maybe it will even fall. Lu Jixing shook his head. But we're just living by ourselves. Lu Qing added. Don't you think it's too small? But this neighborhood is full of acquaintances. They're all your uncles and aunties. Your dad and I have friends when we chat or play cards. If we move away and you're not here, it'll be boring for us. Qi Feng was still a little hesitant. Mom, you're thinking too much. We'll pick a house in the surrounding area and come back for a walk after dinner. You still have to work in the community during the day. Lu Qing continued to persuade her. Qi Feng stopped talking and looked at Lu Jixing. Lu Jixing was also pondering and didn't refute. Our house is indeed small. It's not convenient for guests. Cheng may bring his girlfriend back in 2 years. We can't let the girl suffer. Qifeng rambled and unknowingly changed sides. Lu Jixing poured some wine, took a sip, and made a decision. Cheng, you just need to take out 400,000 yuan, and we'll pay for the rest. When the time comes, we'll write your name on the property deed. Okay. Seeing his father's firm attitude, Lu Qing didn't want to complicate things. Qifeng sighed a few times and quickly became excited. Then I'll ask someone tomorrow and take a look at the nearby buildings. You'd better find an agent for this kind of thing. Others can't be trusted. Chen Hui's family was cheated out of tens of thousands last time. Lu Jixing was experienced and prudent. Looking at his parents excitedly discussing the matter of buying a house, Lu Qing curled up the corner of his mouth. His heart was filled with a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. The haze that had accumulated over the past 2 days dissipated completely. Cherish the present and work hard for the future. Don't worry about things that can't be done temporarily. Treat the people around you well. After chatting for a while, he took out his phone and sent a message to Yenjika. I'm going to take out 400,000 yuan from my bonus to buy a new house for my parents. He felt that he had to explain this to Coach Yen. Yenjika had heard him mention it before, so she wasn't surprised this time. She sent a snickering emoji. That's pretty good. But why are you telling me this? You can decide for yourself with your own money. I'm already your Cheng. Of course I have to tell you. Lu Cheng replied with a sinister smile. Yenjika sent an emoji of rolling her eyes. What if I don't agree? Will you buy it or not? I believe you will agree. Lu Cheng replied with a red face emoji. This was the tacit understanding and perseverance between the two of them. Yenjika sent an emoji of holding her chin with one hand and looking at the sky. I mean, what if? Lu Cheng felt a headache coming on. How could he answer this? This was a conundrum that had existed since ancient times. Without waiting for him to type, Yenjika sent an emoji of covering her mouth and laughing. Are you sweating? Well, you don't have to answer. I'll answer. If two people have such a big contradiction in their values, it won't last long. But Cheng, I've been reading a lot of posts in Weibo recently. Let's assume a situation. If you only have a few tens of thousands of yuan per year, 600,000 yuan is hard to come by. Although your parents live in an old and small house, it's not like they don't have a house. Would you choose to spend 400,000 yuan to buy a new house for them? Lu Qing thought for a while and sent an emoji of a bitter smile. In this situation, even I don't think it's right. One should act according to one's ability. See, you can buy a new house for your parents without any psychological burden. I just feel that you're filial and a good person. I don't have any other thoughts. Ultimately, it's because we have confidence. Money doesn't mean confidence, but it's definitely an important part of it. Yenjika sent an emoji of sitting upright. I feel like I've been taught by a life coach again. Lu Qing said sincerely. Yenjika sent an emoji of working hard to improve. So young man, work hard. Work hard to earn money and improve yourself. This was the root of the problem. Seeing this, Lu Qing realized that Ku had taken such a big detour to comfort him about his master. She didn't want him to be dispirited and see the light and hope in life. He smiled and sent a kissing emoji. I'll work hard. From now on, I'll smile. From now on, I won't blame myself or be powerless. I'll work hard for my goal. From now on, I'll face the sea and enjoy the warmth of spring. At this time, he only felt that his heart was clear, and he also made a decision on another matter. He opened his contact list and called Chairman Wei Renjia. Hello Lu. You're back in Xioshan? Wei Renjia said with a smile. Yeah, I have to go back to work in the martial arts club. I can't take their salary for free. Lu Cheng went straight to the point. Chairman, I can help guide the special training, but only 1 day a week. You know, I can't teach them the martial arts of the sect. I can only guide and train with them. 1 day a week is more than enough. Born in this place, he still had deep feelings for this mountain, this river, and this city. He still hoped to do something for his hometown if he could. Wei Renjia said happily. Good. 1 day is enough. You just have to stand there, and they'll have an example. Lu Cheng was different from the past. Lu Cheng was the #1 young martial artist in the province. Lu Cheng hung up the phone and told Yin Zhika about this matter. His heart gradually calmed down, just like the night outside the window. There were lights in the darkness. Tomorrow morning, I'll practice hard with Ku. Tomorrow, I'll lead the VIP class in the martial arts club. I'll do my duty. I'll start from the small things. I'll start from the small things. Chapter 292. When Lu Qing took his clothes and was about to take a shower, Qi Fong knocked on the door and came in. She smiled and said, "Cheng, it's great that you won the youth tournament this time. It's unique in Xioshan. Why don't we set up a few tables and treat everyone to a meal to celebrate?" "Mom, that's not necessary." Lu Qing got a headache when he heard this. Qi Fong glared at him. "Why not? If we don't set up a few tables, people will talk behind our backs. You don't want to socialize with your relatives and friends. You look down on us after winning the championship. Others can gossip as much as they want, but I don't care." Lu Qing complained in his heart. His mind started to work quickly, and he put on a smile and said, "Mom, people will only gossip if you hold a banquet. Think about it, if you go to other people's banquets, will you give them a red packet? Everyone's money doesn't grow on trees. Of course we should save as much as possible. I just held a graduation banquet last year, and a championship banquet this year. Who knows how many championships I'll win in the future? Do you want to hold a banquet and collect money every time? Then people will complain to our family. It's not like getting married. We can take it back in the future." While making excuses, he put his hands on his mom's shoulders and walked out with her. It didn't matter what he said. He just wanted to show his firm attitude and give his mom a way out. Qi Fong was confused. She glanced at her son and took a deep breath. "You're right. Then we won't set up a banquet. I'll ask your dad to order dozens of boxes of championship cakes and share them with everyone." It was a custom in Xioshan that there would be corresponding cakes for celebrations, such as birthday cakes, wedding cakes, championship cakes, 1,000 gold cakes, dragon phoenix cakes, and so on. "Okay, let's do that," Lu Qing answered with a smile. The next morning in Backwater Lake Park. "You convinced your mother just like that?" Yenjika's bright eyes looked at him and asked with great interest. She was wearing the female martial arts suit of the Longhu Club, which happened to be a couple with Lu Qing. Lu Qing laughed. "It can't be considered persuasion. Isn't this the confidence that Coach Yin mentioned? Ever since I succeeded in practicing martial arts and was able to make money, I have become more confident in front of my mother, and am able to insist on my ideas. My mother may also feel that I have grown up, matured, and is no longer a child. She will ask for my opinion on many things and depends on my attitude. If it was in the past, she would never ask me. She would only say, 'Cheng, we will hold a banquet to celebrate in a few days. Remember to be polite and diligent.'" It was the same situation at this time last year. Yenjika smiled and said, "Do you feel like you're in charge of your own affairs?" "I don't like men who are like children who haven't been weaned. They always listen to their elders and don't have their own ideas," she muttered in her mind. If that's the case, the relationship between mother and daughter-in-law will be very difficult in the future. Luckily, Chung is not a mommy's boy. What am I thinking? Ba mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship, who is his daughter-in-law? Taking note of his little fairy's attitude in this regard, Lu Chung pretended to panic and said, "What should I do? I think you won't like me anymore." "Ah." Yenjika blinked with a blank face. "Because I always listen to Coach Yen and don't have my own ideas." While saying this, Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. "Pfft, you're so funny." Yenjika also couldn't help but laugh out loud. She almost couldn't catch her breath and couldn't help blushing. "Haha, you have to remember what you just said." Dozens of seconds later, she recovered. She slightly raised her eyes and glanced at her boyfriend. Her lips opened and closed, but she didn't say anything. "What's wrong?" Lu Qing asked with concern. Yenjika bit her lip and frankly said, "I was worried that you would be unhappy because of Coach Shi. Well, I was worried that you would be depressed because of it." Just now, I saw that you could still joke and be so funny, so I was relieved. I almost blurted it out, but I thought it would be a sore spot, so I held back. Lu Qing reached out and hugged the girl. He sighed and smiled. Actually, I'm still a little depressed, but I don't want to infect the people around me with this feeling. I'll try my best not to let it affect my usual state, and try to turn it all into motivation for cultivation. This was also the will to protect. I can feel it. If we hadn't seen each other for a few days before, you wouldn't have been able to resist not kissing me before morning exercises. Yenjika rolled her eyes, half teasing and half soothing Lu Qing's mood. Do you think I'm not lecherous enough? Lu Qing calmed down and laughed. He was about to lower his head when the girl pushed him away. Humph, did I say yes? Hurry up and practice. Work hard. Yenjika pursed her lips and ran a few steps away with a smile. Lu Qing didn't insist. After a few minutes of conversation with Ke, he did become cheerful again. Yenjika put on airs and looked up. She thought of something and said, Chung, that little girl Songli asked us to treat her. Why don't we invite Sister Jingjing, Shuang Shuang, and Fatty Jiang from your side to thank them for covering up for us and not telling anyone about it? Okay, I'll call Fatty Jiang at noon and fix a time. He keeps asking me to treat him. Lu Qing didn't find this kind of social interaction troublesome. This wasn't a social interaction, but a bonding between friends. After discussing this matter, the two devoted themselves to their own training. Yenjika practiced meteor force both internally and externally. Lu Qing repeated his daily homework and felt the changes in his body slowly breaking through the limit. Finally, he comprehended Prairie Fire Picture and Zhurong Picture. Without the help of the Jindan, his second attempt was no doubt fruitless. But he didn't feel annoyed or depressed, because this was the normal progress. He couldn't rely on the Jindan for everything. Besides, his master also said that now he had to take it slow and lay a solid foundation. He couldn't rush to practice the Dan stage. It would be good enough if he could grasp some of the essence and charm of the two pictures before the summer vacation. Lu Qing withdrew his thoughts and sank his spirit into the picture scroll again. The flame soared and was suppressed by the Zhurong picture. Just like his state of mind, the burning flame of desire to improve and help his master as soon as possible was firmly suppressed by reason and willpower. Burning uncontrollably would only harm oneself. Vaguely, he felt that he might be able to master Zhurong force in less than a month. After eating with Yenjika, Lu Qing returned home. He took a shower and changed his clothes. Then he took a taxi to Gushan Martial Arts School. As soon as he entered the gate, the receptionist's eyes lit up. She quickly stood up and said with a bright smile, "Hello, Coach Lu. You're back to work so soon?" Her smile was a little timid, not as lively as usual. It was full of awe. "School will start soon." Lu Qing smiled casually. He didn't show any condescension. While talking, he had already passed the front desk and walked to the field where the VIP class was. "Hello, Coach Lu." "Morning, Coach Lu." The summer vacation class and the disciple class stood in line and greeted him loudly as if they were welcoming him. Was this organized by someone? Lu Qing shook his head with a smile. He saw Chu Weikai, Dai Linfeng, and Qin Rue in front of him. He saw Wu Ting, Zhang Qiufan, and the other VIP class students behind them. Wu Ting noticed his gaze and looked around angrily. She asked everyone to line up quickly and shouted in unison, "Hello, Sir Lu." Their voices were loud and full of excitement and pride. "Don't think that I'll let you rest because you welcome me like this. If you slacked off at home in the past 10 days, I'll let you practice." Lu Qing stood in front of the line and said with a smile. Wu Ting giggled and said, "With Sir Lu as an example, we're all practicing diligently. Sir Lu, you're the leader of the young people in our province. Why don't you teach us some powerful martial arts?" She had learned how to use the words of the elders. Powerful martial arts? You're still young. If I teach you now, you'll probably have a strong back and a bare waist. Lu Qing laughed. Wu Ting, Zhang Qiufan, and the other girls were obviously in a dilemma. They hesitated and said, Then forget it." A strong back and a bare waist? Just thinking about it was scary. Lu Qing gave them pointers one by one, and asked them to stand properly. Then he looked at the three beside him and said, Club Master Chu, are you looking for me? It's not a big deal. Chu Weikai smiled and changed the topic. Fortunately, you live in the modern world. If it were in the past, you'd have a long line of people coming to challenge you every day after you won the championship, and your reputation spread. But now it was the age of information. Everyone could see a martial artist's performance in a competition through videos. They had a general idea of his actual level. It was clear whether he could be challenged or not. In this generation of martial artists in Qing province, those who were capable of challenging Lu Cheng had all participated in the youth tournament. Naturally, no one would do such a thing in a short time. Lu Cheng glanced at Dai Linfeng and Qin Rui and suddenly laughed. Club Master Chu, are you saying that someone wants to challenge me? How dare I? It's just that my humble disciple wants to ask you for some advice. Chu Weikai looked at Dai Linfeng with a smile. Dai Linfeng smiled bitterly and said, I just want to know how big the gap is between you and me now so that I can set a goal. No matter how many videos he watched, it was not as good as a real fight. Dai Linfeng was proud. He didn't participate in the past when his disciples paid Lu Cheng for one-on-one instruction. But after watching the youth tournament, his pride had completely disappeared. Lu Cheng glanced at Qin Rui and the others and smiled. Okay, let's practice a little. Don't overdo it. Okay, please give me some advice. Dai Linfeng put on a respectful posture. When he stabilized his posture, Lu Cheng suddenly took a step forward. He gathered his qi, blood, spirit, and force and then released them immediately. Bam! His right arm was like an iron whip, hitting down on Dai Linfeng's head. Dai Linfeng didn't have time to dodge. He raised his arms to block. He didn't want to make a mistake, but he didn't want to make a mistake. However, as soon as they touched, he felt a surge of majestic force. The bones in his arms creaked, and were about to break. They would really break. Not only would they break, but the remaining force would also break his sternum. He was seriously injured in one move. Is this the gap between us? Dai Linfeng suddenly felt his arms become lighter. The majestic force disappeared mysteriously, as if it had never existed. Lu Cheng pulled back his right arm without any reluctance. He put his hands behind his back and smiled slightly. With the internal training method of special training, you have a chance to reach the professional 9th pin before the end of the year. Dai Linfeng was shocked and stunned. He stared at Lu Cheng in a daze, as if he didn't know who he was. Before this, he only thought that Lu Cheng was a very powerful young man. Chapter 293. Dai Linfeng's feelings were very subtle, and couldn't be accurately described with a simple sentence. What did he mean by only feeling that Lu Cheng was a very powerful young man? He meant that he felt that they were about the same age, and there was no generation gap between them. No matter how powerful and scary Lu Cheng was, he was still a young man and not much different from him. It was like when he was still a student, he would envy the top students and not dare to provoke them. He would feel a bit of inferiority, but he wouldn't think that Lu Cheng was beyond the level of a student. But now Lu Cheng seemed to have a temperament that didn't belong to his age. It reminded him of the first time he met his master, Chu Weikai. Dai Linfeng's heart was filled with complex emotions. He kept silent until he reached the stairs. After climbing 2 steps, Chu Weikai suddenly stopped. With his back facing the ground below, he sighed and said, Linfeng, just like what Lu Cheng said, with this special training, your chances of reaching the professional 9th pin are very high. You might only need a year or so. But if you want to go further, it's going to be difficult. If you're not willing to stay at this level, then go out and try your luck. You can't raise a dragon in a pond. But master, the martial arts club. Dai Linfeng blurted out, as if he was really considering this question. Chu Weikai put his hand on the handrail and laughed. Don't worry, your junior brothers are improving very fast. I'm not that old. You don't have to worry about retreating. If you really can't make it, then go back to the martial arts club. I'll always leave you a meal here. Qin Rui felt a lump in his throat and sighed. Regardless of whether Chu Weikai was squeezing his disciple's labor, he had done his duty as a master. When I can meditate, master the internal training method, and reach the professional 9th pin, should I go out and have a try? Dai Linfeng didn't speak. After a long silence, he gave an irrelevant answer. Master, what level do you think Lu Qing can reach? Chu Weikai walked up slowly and said, no matter what level he can reach in the future, his current level is something you can't reach in your lifetime. I'm not trying to discourage you, but you can't reach for what's beyond your grasp. You have to have a practical and accurate goal. As for Lu Qing, if nothing unexpected happens, I believe he will not stop at the Dan stage. Dai Linfeng and Qin Rui didn't say anything. They understood what their master was implying. Lu Qing would be the first mighty one with physical invulnerability in Xioshan. This was not a compliment at the beginning of summer vacation, but the conclusion of more than a month of observation and experience. Even though he was already a promising 7th pin expert, Lu Qing didn't put on airs. He still seriously corrected the most basic moves of Wu Ting and the others. In his free time, he seized every minute and second to temper himself. The sun was high in the sky, and it was almost noon. He took out his phone, looked at the time, and clapped his hands. All right, that's all for today's training. Everyone really didn't slack off before. You deserve to be praised. Before he could finish his sentence, and before Wu Ting could say anything, the long-term students and inner disciples who had been paying attention to them all rushed over and surrounded them. Brother Lu, I'll book another 2 hours of private tutoring. Coach Lu, I want to pay. I want to be coached alone. In the midst of the clamor, there were at least 30 people who made requests. What a great opportunity it was to be able to receive the guidance of the #1 young martial artist in the province. Even if they didn't learn anything, they would feel proud just by talking about it. And it was only 800 yuan an hour. It was like picking it up for free. Which mighty one in the dance stage would be so cheap? More importantly, no mighty one in the dance stage would be so free as to do this kind of private tutoring. As long as Coach Lu agreed, they were willing to pay more. The inner disciples who didn't ask for Lu Cheng's private tutoring before the youth tournament were heartbroken. They didn't have a high income, so they deeply felt the price change. That was even more exaggerated than the increase of housing prices. They could only ask for money from their families. Lu Qing was shocked. He roughly counted the number of people and felt that he couldn't agree. He didn't want to lose time for training, accompanying Ku, and spending time with his parents just for money. He pressed his hands down to stop the commotion and said calmly, everyone is limited to 1 hour of private tutoring. The price will be announced tomorrow. Anyway, it won't be cheap. Think about it carefully. Is it necessary? Is it worth it? His tone was calm and peaceful. His voice was neither high nor low, but everyone present heard it clearly. They couldn't help but quiet down and make way for him. At this time, Ding Yanba in the crowd held back his excitement and took a deep breath. He decided to do something that would make him the center of attention. He shouted at the top of his voice, trying to please, Brother Lu Qing. With a swoosh, all eyes were fixed on his face, full of surprise. When Lu Qing nodded and said a few words of encouragement, the surprise turned into envy, making Ding Yanba's blood boil. He felt a little tipsy and comfortable to the extreme. Haha, this is my brother Lu Qing. After he won the youth tournament, a few of my classmates who thought he was my cousin started to fawn over me. Lu Qing didn't talk much with Ding Yanba. He took his phone and went back to the locker room to change his clothes. Yin Zhika had sent him the time she had discussed with Song Li and others. It would be tomorrow or the night after tomorrow. She asked Lu Qing to ask Jiang Fei when they were free. If they were not available, they could adjust it later. While walking out of the martial arts club, Lu Qing dialed a number. Hello, Fatty Jiang. I said I would treat you. You can choose tomorrow or the night after tomorrow. Jiang Fei said in confusion. Cheng, why do I feel something is wrong? I don't need to urge you and you've taken the initiative to treat me. Just one word. Are you coming or not? Lu Qing said with a smile. Come. Tomorrow night, in case something bad happens. Jiang Fei said decisively. Okay, I'll tell you the specific location when we decide on it. Lu Qing hung up the phone and called old Cheng Chili. Cheng Chili was playing a game when he heard the vibration of his phone. He turned his head and saw the name Cheng on the flashing screen. He was stunned. After a few seconds of hesitation, He picked up the phone and chose to answer. Hello, Cheng? When Cheng Chili shouted out this name, the image of Lu Cheng's dazzling figure in the arena suddenly appeared in his mind, making him feel ashamed of his own inferiority. Old Cheng, haven't you been asking me to treat you all the time? How about tomorrow night? Ku and I will treat you all together. Lu Cheng said with a smile. Cheng Chili was about to say yes, but suddenly he felt an indescribable irritation and depression. He seemed to be out of breath and blurted out subconsciously, I'm going to Grandpa's house tomorrow. I haven't been there for a long time. You promised. During this time, whenever he thought of Chiu Hailin and Chow Leilei's praise of Lu Cheng and thought of his friend's prestige, he did not want to go out and talk with others about it. How about the night after tomorrow? Lu Cheng asked. Cheng Chili opened his right hand and said without a smile, I have to stay at Grandpa's house for a few days. Hee hee, you don't have to accommodate me. Let's meet alone and have a meal. Okay, see you later. Lu Cheng said with a little regret. When the call ended, Cheng Chili put the phone in front of him, pushed his glasses and looked at it quietly. Before leaving the martial arts school, Lu Cheng found Qin Rui and called Tao Xiaofei to confirm his treat for the next night. Then he took a taxi to the backwater Lake Villa area and met up with Yan Zhika. They went to the newly opened Old Tan's private kitchen for lunch, and to try the dishes. Are you with Jiang Fei, Qin Rui and Tao Xiaofei? Yan Zhika made the final confirmation so that they could reserve seats in advance. Yes. Lu Cheng nodded. Yan Zhika looked up and suddenly smiled. I have a good impression of Qin Rui. He is tall and strong and likes to come to our class like Cheng Tao. At that time, I didn't know you existed at all. I didn't expect that my future boyfriend would be in the next class, and I didn't pay attention to him at all. It was quite amazing when he thought about it. Yeah, I didn't expect you to be my girlfriend at that time. Lu Cheng also sighed with emotion. Fate was really a wonderful thing. As the two of them talked, they interlocked their fingers and smiled at each other. Maybe this was fate. They didn't know each other for 3 years in high school, but now they were holding hands. They spent the lunch in such a warm atmosphere. When it was almost over, Lu Cheng received a call from his senior sister, Shi Yuejian. Hello, senior sister, what's the matter? He was a little worried that something would happen to his master when he went to the secret military base. Shi Yuejian's voice was full of joy. Good news. Lu Cheng relaxed immediately and said with a smile. What good news? Yan Zhika was quietly listening to their conversation, resting her chin on her hand. The military has been doing some experiments with your master's cells. Although there is no progress in the main body, they have made a byproduct that seems to be able to suppress your master's injury. This time they tried it and it really worked. Your master can live a few more years. Shi Yuejian couldn't hide her excitement. Lu Cheng burst out with joy and said excitedly, Really? Really? Why would I lie to you? Shi Yuejian answered with a smile. That's good, that's good. Lu Cheng turned to look at Yan Zhika and conveyed his happiness to her. After hanging up the phone, he didn't hide his happiness and told his girlfriend the good news like a child. That's great. Am I right? Science and technology are improving, so are martial arts. As long as we are alive, there is hope. As long as we are alive, we can wait for change. Yan Zhika said happily and complacently. It was like AIDS. When he was a child, it seemed to be an incurable disease. Once he got it, he could only wait for death. But now, as long as he controlled it well, he could almost live to the end of his life like a normal person. This was the power of progress and development. Coach Yan is indeed full of the brilliance of wisdom. If it weren't for the fact that they were still in someone else's restaurant and his girlfriend wasn't wearing a knee-length skirt, he would have lifted Ku up high. Both of them had a great appetite and ate another bowl of rice. Yan Zhika rubbed her bulging belly and said with satisfaction, Where are we going this afternoon? Lu Cheng thought for a while and suggested, Let's go to my house? Look at my old photos. Okay. Yan Zhika didn't object and looked forward to it. Chapter 294. The car stopped at the entrance of the community. Lu Qing got off first and opened the umbrella for his little fairy to block out the afternoon sun. Yenjika squinted and looked around. When her boyfriend closed the door, she said with great interest, "Is this your community? It looks like the hospital we used to live in." She was wearing a white t-shirt, a black knee-length gauze skirt, and a pair of red and black sandals. Her fingernails were pink and healthy. She had the beauty of youth and the seductiveness of maturity. Communities in that era are all similar. Lu Qing agreed casually. He was about to hold her hand and walk to the gate of the community. Yenjika retracted her hand and rolled her eyes at him. "Didn't you say that 9 out of 10 uncles and aunts in the community know you? If you hold my hand like this, your mom will know in 5 minutes that you brought a girl home." "Less than 5 minutes." Lu Qing answered with embarrassment. He was just used to it. Then he laughed. "Actually, it doesn't matter to me. My mom will know. I'm bringing such a good wife home. She'll be so happy." He showed his calm attitude. "Ku is such a good girlfriend. Why can't I meet people? I can't wait to show off and let everyone know." Unfortunately, he had to consider the feelings of Ku's family. Yenjika glanced at his face and hummed. "Who's your wife going home with you?" "I'm not going." "Yes, yes, yes. Girlfriend, girlfriend." Lu Qing looked at the entrance of the community. "How about this? I'll go in first and see if there's anyone home. Then I'll show you how to find my home." "Okay." Yenjika looked up with her bright eyes. She couldn't think of another good idea. Lu Qing passed the umbrella to her and walked quickly into the community. The neighbors he met along the way all greeted him with smiles. On the way back home, it was quiet. His parents had gone to work. Only then did he relax completely. He walked to the balcony and looked down at the gate and the roads. "Ku, go straight through the door and turn right when you reach the 4th building." "Yes, it's the place where people are playing chess." "Okay, stop, stop. Turn left, do you see 8? It's this building, on the 5th floor of Unit 2. The door is open." Lu Qing watched the girl's figure disappear into the doorway of the unit. He quickly turned around and left the balcony. During this process, his eyes swept across the familiar living room. And he suddenly felt a little nervous. Wouldn't it seem too old, shabby, and cramped? They couldn't compare to Ku's family at all. Would it leave a bad impression on her? Lu Qing swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He was excited to officially share his past with Yenjika, but he was also nervous because he was worried that she wouldn't recognize him. A little bit of inferiority was inevitable. Furthermore, there was no air conditioner installed at home, only fans. Fortunately, there was a walking air conditioner like me. He looked at the bright sunlight and felt the surging heat waves as he waited at the door. Not long after, the sound of a girl's light footsteps could be heard, and a beautiful figure entered his eyes. Yenjika's eyes swept over the scene inside. She pursed her lips and smiled. "Just now, I felt like I was shooting a spy film. So sneaky." Lu Qing handed his slippers to her, closed the door, and put on his father's slippers. He smiled and said, "Actually, you don't have to be sneaky as long as you want to. I'm not stupid." Yenjika raised her head and joked, "Do you want to bring my sandals to your room?" She was teasing Lu Qing's behavior when he came to her house. "No, it's good that my mom comes back and sees it," Lu Qing answered with a smile. "Humph." Yenjika bent down to pick up her sandals and stuffed them into Lu Qing's hands. "Take it. Your sandals are so big." She lifted her right leg and shook the sandals hanging on her toes. Sandals are always big to be comfortable. Lu Qing led the girl to the bedroom, secretly watching her reaction to his home. Yenjika looked around curiously and pointed at the door of the second bedroom. She covered her mouth and laughed. "Is this where you secretly watch TV?" Lu Qing had once told her interesting stories about his childhood. There was one time when he couldn't forget a TV program, so he secretly opened the door a crack, stood on tiptoe by the door, and stared at the TV in front of him. But that night his parents were watching a horror movie, and he was so scared that he couldn't fall asleep. "Yeah, it's a psychological shadow," Lu Qing answered with a smile. Then he plucked up his courage and asked, "Ku, do you think my house is shabby?" Coach Yen said to communicate actively and not leave any uneasiness. Yenjika tilted her head, pursed her lips and smiled. Why would I? It's okay, it's clean and tidy. It's not my home. I only have 3 requirements for other places. Not dirty, not messy, not dangerous. Besides, you have a lot of past experiences here, so it's quite interesting to live here occasionally. Bah, what am I saying? Live here occasionally. Lu Qing breathed a sigh of relief and became confident again. He also felt the point of view of the girl inadvertently. He held her hand and said with a smile, "We will have our own home in the future." It was spacious, sunny, and clean. Who has our own home with you? Yenjika raised her head and looked to the side. Lu Qing smiled and said, "In fact, I was worried that we would have a conflict of ideas. After all, our family environments are different." After he was sure, he became calmer and could speak out his worries. In fact, a lot of conflicts of ideas are not so important. Yenjika rolled her eyes and said with a smile, "Like housework, can't you just hire a housekeeper? You just need to wash your private things." Like who will cook, can't you just hire a good housekeeper? You can cook by yourself when you're interested. Like in the future, when the 2 elders are not in good health, it will be hard to take care of them. If you hire a professional nurse to take care of the most important part, it won't be so tiring. She said it calmly as if it was a matter of course. Lu Qing listened in a daze. He felt that many of the conflicts in his family seemed to have disappeared after this discussion. Of course, this required a solid economic foundation. Kochian, a lot of small conflicts of ideas are indeed not so important. Lu Qing said with emotion. Money was not omnipotent, but one could not do anything without money. This sentence was an exaggeration, but when the economy was not rich, many small problems were indeed more obvious. The saying that a poor couple had 100 sorrows was definitely not just for show. Thinking of this, Lu Qing had one more motivation to make money to support the family. Did I broaden your horizons again? Yenjika showed her dimples and smiled. It was a happy thing to have one's ideas recognized by the person one liked the most. Yes, I learned a lot from you. Lu Qing put the girl's sandals in the corner of his room and asked Yenjika to sit on the bed. He took out his photo album and schoolmate record and handed them over, as if he was presenting a treasure. I used to regret that there were so many classes in our grade, so I couldn't take a group photo of the whole grade. I couldn't take a photo of you as a souvenir. But now he shared his feelings at that time. Yenjika opened her mouth and then closed it again. She felt sweet in her heart. Chung was really stupid at that time. She opened a photo album on her lap and looked through it. Lu Qing turned on the fan and used the power of frost. He hugged the girl's waist and put his head close to hers. It's so cool, Yenjika praised with a smile. This is your senior year graduation photo, right? Your hair was so long that it almost reached your eyes. You look so decadent. Not decadent, just lazy. I didn't know how to take care of myself. Usually, I would get a buzz cut first and wait for my hair to grow freely. Then I would get a buzz cut again. I didn't have to bother with this kind of thing for 2 months. Lu Qing explained his attitude at that time, but he was a little guilty. Yenjika rolled her eyes at him and snickered. If you do this again, I'll do it for you myself. Are you good at it? Lu Qing asked in surprise. No. In fact, I don't have any skills at all. Let's see if you can be lazy or not. Yenjika covered her mouth and laughed, looking through the photos. Lu Cheng's photos had become less and less since he started to have difficulties in his family. After going to high school, he didn't like to take photos. The girl flipped through half of the album and saw his elementary school photos. Haha, you have a red dot on your forehead. You look like a girl. That was a class dance. Everyone had a red dot on their forehead. I don't know what the teacher was thinking. Is this the nude bathtub photo you were talking about? It's exposed. I couldn't help it. I was young and ignorant. My dad took a photo of it and left a dark history. The two were very close to each other, discussing the photos and the story behind them. They were in high spirits and could smell each other's breaths. Lu Qing smelled the fragrance in his nose. Her delicate body was in his arms. He looked up and down and saw the girl's seductive side. His heart was gradually stirred. We are at home. There are no outsiders. It's very comfortable and reassuring. Dad and Mom almost never come back early. It's been a long time since we made out. Lu Qing turned his head and saw the girl's pink lips. He lowered his head and noticed her beautiful white and tender legs. He suddenly stood up and walked to the door. Where are you going? Yenjika looked at him with obvious confusion. Lu Qing closed the door of the second bedroom and pretended to be serious as he explained. I forgot to close the door. In this way, even if my parents come back temporarily, they won't find anything. Oh. Yenjika's long eyelashes trembled a few times. She lowered her eyes again and looked at the photo album on her knees. Lu Qing sat beside her and reached out to hold her waist. It seemed to be the same position as before, but he held her tighter, as if he wanted to completely rub the girl into his arms. Yenjika wriggled twice and then calmed down. She still lowered her eyes and focused on the childhood photos of Lu Qing. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.